Okay. We're live? Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Welcome to the, 400th Chapo debate stream. We are live from our new Brooklyn studio. I think it's very impressive. This is the most professional setup
Thank you, Chris.
we've ever had. Thank you to Chris Wade for setting this all up.
Welcome to the Dark Carnival.
Yeah, this is.
As you can see,
I
can't look at Matt.
It's like stressful.
as you can see, we've got Matt Chrisman in full Joker mode.
Crime is funny to me now.
Yep.
It's great though. So we're about 15 minutes out from seeing Bernie and Biden go mano a mano, head to head, face to face, standing off together on the debate stage together. This is as I said, this is for all the marbles that Joe Biden currently doesn't have in his skull.
Oh snap!
Because he's lost them, folks. He's lost them all. But let me introduce our special guest for tonight's debate stream. It is Punished Ben Mora.
Hello, everyone.
Punished Venom Snake, a.k.a.
I'm
Ben
here.
Mora.
I'm alive.
Yeah.
I have the virus.
He's back. He's back.
Back and better than ever.
He's back and better than ever. Okay, so just initial thoughts on tonight's debate. This is obviously the first time. This is what we've all been waiting for. It is 1v1 now. Bernie Biden.
First time.
Bernie is trailing Biden. This is like the, before the next round of voting. This is, I guess, maybe the last chance he has to change the narrative or make any dent in Biden's momentum. What are you guys looking for tonight? What are you hoping to see? Ben, start with you.
I'm hoping to see Biden's dentures fall out. Bernie pick him up off the stage, wave him around a bit, and just like toss him into the audience. I don't know. I am worried that Bernie is a little too concerned with like this idea of like party unity.
Yeah, he's not Joker-fied enough.
Yeah, he's not Joker-fied enough. I think Bernie legitimately believes that Biden is better than Trump, and like, I wouldn't make that case, and like I don't think Bernie is gonna do what he needs to do to beat Biden. He's not gonna go there.
I kind of worry that's true too.
I think this will be something where they both go after Trump, and there's not enough room for them to go after each other.
Yeah,
That's
a little
my
worried
fear.
about that.
But I mean, it's going to be like 2.5 hours of just them looking at each other. I mean, like they can't just talk about Trump and agree the whole time.
I think it'll start
Amber?
out that way.
Yeah.
I think it will start out civil. I also think that Bernie is genuinely concerned and disgusted with Corona and the way it's being handled. So he's going to. I agree because he said like, of course, like Biden could beat Trump, which he can't.
Biden's my friend.
Yeah. Biden's all our friends, but he can't be in charge of anything.
Make him head B guy.
But yes, just let him watch the B.
Just let him greet people at the door.
He
would love
He'd be a great
I
casino
think
greeter.
Yeah.
I do agree that Bernie does have to come out swinging on this, and I think over time, because again, it's just the two of them, he's probably going to get more aggressive. Also, maybe Biden's eyes will just start bleeding.
Honestly, that's the wild card. He physically could collapse or decay in front of our eyes. He could, his ear could fall off. Anything could happen. He could confuse Bernie with Walter Mondale or his wife or Fiorello LaGuardia. We have no idea. It's like everything else. It's totally wide open. That's why we're in Joker mode.
Can we get some clowns going in the chat for
Get some,
for
some
Joker
dark clowns in the
Joker-fied
chat,
Chrisman
please.
going in the chat?
We
here.
need some dark clowns.
Chris, how does it look? Is it bright enough?
Chris,
Okay.
am I pretty?
All right.
Yeah. Do we look hot? That's the most.
I know I do.
Question.
Well, you see your makeup.
I've never looked prettier.
Yeah. As far as
pretty.
as far as the
Oh,
party
so
unity or will they
pretty.
go at each other or not, I think like it's tough because I know what we all want. I know what I want. I want to see Biden get his throat cut on national TV.
Yes.
I want to see him humiliated.
Indeed.
I want to see him humiliated and broken in front of the national audience because I mean, the ratings for this are probably going to be higher. I mean, shit,
Yeah.
everyone's inside,
Yeah.
doesn't have shit to do. But I think like the problem
And there's
is
no sports.
Bernie is in this kind of straitjacket that I'm not
know it.
sure he knows how to resolve, or even if he can resolve it, where he's dealing with the fact that like, in order to make any difference, he has got to destroy Biden. He has got to stop being nice and caring about party unity to make any kind of difference at all. Because if they both just get on there and agree with each other and talk about how like how bad Trump is,
Also,
that's not going to
kind
do
of it.
anything for him. Like that's not going to.
No.
Unless you changes fundamentally the trajectory of where this race is going right now, it's over for him, right?
Yeah,
But
it is. Unless the boomer remover acts fast enough before we're done with the actual voting, it's not going to
But
be enough.
here's the problem, though. I mean, he is still locked in to a Democratic primary electorate that I think we've realized by now that the majority of whom is not like us.
Yeah.
They do not have the same concerns or hopes or fears that we do, and essentially they do not want to see the Democratic Party or any of its elder statesmen or politicians attacked or run down in any way.
And also, they get their cues on what to think about all this stuff from MSNBC and CNN, and they're going to tell them, no matter what happens, that Bernie, if he attacks Biden, it was savage and unprovoked and unnecessary or whatever the hell, and it's undermining the country. Their spin on it will not help him no matter what.
And Biden has been humiliating himself this whole time.
Yeah.
His eye bled. He sucked his wife's finger. He confused his wife and his daughter. He's been
just
doing this the
wandered
whole time.
off the middle of his
I
Facebook
think
page
Biden
thing.
can go up there and actively sundown like he has been this entire time, and it won't make a difference. I don't think it will.
I don't know.
That's what I'm scared of.
It all depends
Depends how
on-
bad it
That's what he's
is.
gonna do. It depends,
depends on how bad
it
he
is.
goes.
Moreover,
But they're not going to show
yeah.
it again on CNN
Also,
tomorrow.
old people don't like old people. They're weird like that. So I think there's that. I also, again, as we remind ourselves over and over, no one watches these things but us. What happens is people get sort of the pull quotes in the moments the next day on Facebook because they're old.
Yeah.
And those are the people that use it. And that, of course, is filtered as well. But I don't know, man. They're really scared of coronavirus, those old people. So,
Well,
I don't know.
We'll have to see.
I have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, as long as we're talking about the Joker in the deck that is the coronavirus and the unfolding panic and sort of national quarantine that's taking place because of it, you can look at it one way that in the face of a real kind of national emergency that does require a kind of coordinated national response, that you cannot be left individual states,
That's the
cities, or
irony and horror of all of
municipalities to
this.
kind of pick and choose what level of lockdown or sort of protocol that they're going to use, because it has to be national or else it's totally meaningless, right?
That's what the horror
So
and irony
in the
was.
face of a genuine national crisis or emergency like that, particularly one that relates to public health, that you could say people will look at Biden and be like, well, maybe we should have someone who's coherent, and has his someone who can speak about these issues lucidly, and not only that, has a plan and has been talking for the last 30 years about things that would actually help people in this. Where if this is what it's going to take for people to realize oh, wait a second, I shouldn't have to pay for a test or a vaccine for this, and in fact, the price of it is actively
He needs to
endangering.
hit him hard as fuck on healthcare.
The price tag on it is endangering everyone, because as long as it's associated with it, the cost $1,000 or it's being held behind, in private hands, it's going to stop a lot of people from being treated for this. And the more that people aren't treated, the more people are going to get sick, and the longer this is going to go on, right?
Yeah.
You'd think that's the rational response, and Bernie is perfectly positioned to capitalize on just such a public health crisis as this. However, the other side of that is I fear that in times of crisis, it makes people retreat even more inward into themselves and even more into the safe choice of Joe Biden.
Yep.
That we really can't rock the boat at all,
Well,
and we just
also
need to defeat Trump
kind of
because
the idea of I've got mine, and
Yeah,
now's
exactly,
not the time
yeah.
to gamble with something as risky as giving people health care, because people don't understand herd immunity. And what we've discovered with stuff like anti-vax stuff, it's actually a very middle-class phenomenon, and people don't really give a shit about the people that watch CNN. Don't give a shit about other people.
Nope. Yeah. That's the thing.
But
we've
also,
got- yeah.
if they are old, maybe their fear will. I don't know. I have no
But
idea.
Bernie's been making this argument the entire time. Bernie has been talking about the necessity of us to see a collective stake in each other, and I
But
fear
we
that
don't.
coronavirus is not going to be that's not going to heighten those contradictions enough for people to actually embrace that and understand what Bernie is talking about and understand that they have to be a part of that. That's my fear.
We really-
this actually
But it
isn't
might
gonna do
scare them away from the voting booths.
Yeah,
That's the hope.
maybe we have to,
honestly,
we have to vote for
yeah. It's like
voter
'cause it's like
suppression.
in the movie.
Whatever. They've been doing it to us forever.
In the movie, you have this big crisis emerging that vindicates everything Bernie's been saying, and then he proposes this vision of collective responsibility. And he said it earlier today in that video that the Hill put a fucking Instagram like red filter over, so it looked like his head was about to explode. Where he says we're all in this together. And the fact is, I don't think most Americans agree.
No.
I think after 40 years of having the social fabric destroyed with battery acid, most Americans don't think we're in this together.
I don't think you can draw any conclusions about most Americans.
Well,
From
most
the sort
Americans
of
who
people
vote
that
anyway.
watch.
But that's what matters.
Exactly.
But
Look at
that's
how
the
many
only Americans who matter.
How many
Those are the only
people
ones who are
aren't
going to determine this
quarantined
thing.
right now, though? Like the fact that there's still like a lot of people out on the streets, a lot of people going out about their daily lives, like that shows right there that like people aren't ready to embrace that that interconnectedness that Bernie has been talking about this whole time.
Well,
you
what
know?
states? What states we got on Tuesday?
Was it
Florida, Arizona,
Illinois, or
Uh,
Arizona? Yeah.
Tell you what, two biggest retirement states,
Yes.
Arizona and Florida.
Yeah.
and they're both like, yeah, we're going to do this. Fuck it. Let's do it and be legends. I mean, that's what's so psychotic about this. It's like you'd think just from like self-interested perspective, like Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida's a Republican. He depends on his seat for old people, and now he's saying, "Yeah, go out, go mingle, hang
Real
out
quick,
in the public,
Real quick though, I think
cough on the hors d'oeuvres."
I mean, I think you mentioned Florida. I mean, I think this is also an object lesson of. It's a real shame that Andrew Gillum isn't currently governor of Florida.
Seriously,
right?
we need the steady hand
we need a steady hand and
The
abs
shaky meth
and
hands.
ass of
and hot rock hard, rough trade ass. I don't know the words. I don't know the terms.
Has he come out
You're
yet?
getting makeup all
He was
over
okay.
here.
What's he been doing?
He was okay.
You can't not come out after being busted.
Okay,
smoking meth at a Miami motel at 4.
You didn't hear what Cenk Uyghur said.
Those were just those were just his friends. He was at a wedding and there was just meth on the ground. It wasn't.
There was meth
his
on the ground. How many
It
times
wasn't
did you
his
come into
meth.
a
He was
hotel room
supporting
and
the
found
gay
meth on the
community.
ground?
He was doing
Yeah.
gay outrage.
I did like that. No, I don't think he has come out. But what he did say is he's like, I want to be clear. He didn't deny
guy.
doing
Oh,
all
let me be clear.
the gay stuff. He just said, I've never done meth. I've never done meth.
Come on, embrace it.
Oh, he said he wasn't gay. Well, he's
Said he wasn't
he's
gay?
married. He's married.
He's married.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
Well, so are a
Yeah.
lot of gay men.
Yeah.
He's just friends with a couple of guys who like to advertise for their services on the internet.
Just like short shorts.
Just like little shorty shorts.
All right.
There's
So
pizza here now, everyone.
5 minutes out. What do you think the first question they're going to be asked tonight is? Probably about coronavirus.
It's going to be
right?
about coronavirus.
Bernie,
it's
what do
gotta
you
be.
think about the fact that you have coronavirus?
You know what would be really funny if it was
Bernie,
about.
why are you giving people credit?
You know what would be
Why do you
really
love
funny
corona?
if in the middle of this, the first question
getting
was about
pizza.
Bernie Bros.
Yeah.
Do you
They'll name me.
Senator Sanders? Will you condemn the harsh and inflammatory language of your supporters?
Now, here's the first question. America is in a time of crisis right now. People are very disturbed, upset, and unsure about the future because of a plague that's sweeping the nation. I'm talking, of course, about people being mean to Elizabeth Warren on
Yes.
the internet.
Bullying
It's
a
the snake
senator.
Yeah.
emoji.
Elizabeth Warren, by the way, today has come out and confirmed that she is not going to endorse anyone.
What a shock!
Wait, did she say-
You mean the
Yeah.
exact same thing she did last time?
Yeah.
What a shock that she's doing the exact
Yeah.
same thing she did last time.
So her endorsement wouldn't even help at this point. Who
No,
fucking
it doesn't
cares?
matter.
Who
Fuck her.
cares? Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
She could have shown some backbone.
No, yeah.
Well, she doesn't believe in anything.
All right.
So it's like it's not.
All right,
really
they're
fucking
bringing
news,
out
like
the
beliefs.
contenders. They're bringing out the contenders.
Oh my
I'm
God,
that
I'm
was
unmuting the
amazing.
TV.
Yes, please.
We're about to go.
Yeah, one
Bernie
of
is
each, please.
so hot.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Oh man, that looks like a perfect pizza. Oh, it's the thin crust. I love it so much.
No, I mean, really, as journalists, we're always excited about being witnesses to history. We've been saying it a lot. We've never lived through
Okay,
anything
we
like
need to stop calling anchors journalists.
No, you're
Like,
just
it's like
sitting
how
there and
it's like
reading.
how weather ladies are usually not meteorologists.
Yeah, thank you.
the uniqueness of it. How do you speak to the uniqueness of this moment when it's not, oh, cool history. It's this is terrible in a different way every day.
Look, I think we're going to look back on this as an inflection point for all of our lives. First of all, you have a lot of people who, for the first time, are really having to take. Listen, Democrats have been talking about, we need a healthcare system, we need a government.
I like the fact that in the UK they call guys like Cuomo news readers, which is what they are. They read a fucking teleprompter. They're not out there getting fucking scoops. They're bimbos.
But also, you have
Brian Williams was one of the biggest journalists in the country, and that guy has the IQ of a fucking grub worm. He makes William Hurt in broadcast news look like Albert Brooks in broadcast news.
Got him.
I did. I got him.
You turn to each other or on each other in a moment like this. And I think that's
What do you think Biden is writing right now? He's like drawing a little.
drawing
He's like
a dick.
doodling.
It's the first time in a long time here.
Writing his name down so he remembers it.
I'm only going to be as healthy as you help me be, and vice versa. Maybe that was the message this country needed more than anything else. It's horrible for it to come in a corona crisis, but it's an important message, especially for this country.
Yeah, so let's concern troll Bernie and back up the fucking senile, old, demented bankruptcy king instead.
Matt, I have appreciated your point about how now that impeachment is over, Chris Hayes has a new television program to tweet about nonstop, which is, of course, the coronavirus pandemic. Yeah. And he's like, this is not normal. You know, people, he's like, you know, like Kevin McCarthy at the end of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But it's like, you work for a TV network that has dedicated itself entirely to forestalling any hope of ever dealing with it in any reasonable way.
Wow. Hey, Chris, maybe say something about that for a second instead of just freaking out about Trump like every other fucking dipshit on that network.
Oh, by the way, the other thing I have to bring up before this debate starts is that Nancy Pelosi just passed like the paid sick leave act that excludes 80% of all workers in America.
And every single, like all of those workers were like McDonald's, Walmart, like any company.
Any company with over 500 employees is exempted from a paid sick leave. And this is the Democrats. They control the House.
Yeah.
And then she said that this is what we want. It's not like the Republicans made them compromise on it. They started from a position of like, well, I don't think taxpayers should foot the bill for what corporations should be doing for themselves.
Then make them do it. Make them do it. Require them to provide sick leave.
Matt, you were getting face paint all over the mic.
That was inevitable. I mean, I knew that was going to happen. I'm also dribbling beer into my goddamn shirt.
It's the Joker, baby.
Being the Joker has its downfalls.
You're serving queen.
No, but like when
If
you
being the Joker was easy, everyone would be
it's
the
like
Joker.
that paid sick leave bill where it's like we're the Democrats, we're on your side, and then they pass a bill that by design excludes 80% of all workers in America. Not as a compromise, but this was their starting position. This is what they wanted to do. That could not be a better textbook example of why fuck Joe Biden and the Democrats.
Exactly.
Don't vote for them.
He is not
Who
better
gives
than
a
Donald
shit?
Trump.
They're
He's
the
not better
same.
than-
Who are you talking to?
Well, I'm just
No, I mean,
We're
but more
vibing.
generally, when it's like, it's just.
I don't know.
I think they're all on the same side.
Yeah.
Our viewing public, I don't know.
I don't think they're going to vote for Joe Biden.
I don't know. I think
No.
some of them are going to
Don't
get.
vote
I
for
don't
Joe
think
Biden.
anyone watching us on Twitch is going to vote.
I think
for
they
Joe
might.
Biden.
I think they might get like guilted into it by relatives or by the internet or
So
something.
pathetic.
I believe in them. They're strong.
Let's hope so.
I will
None of you
move back to
motherfuckers better
Iowa so
vote
I
for
can
Biden.
write in Marianne Williams.
All right, here we go. It's time to kick it off. Let's debate.
Okay, he butchered that.
Her job is to mention Venezuela 50 times.
I'm worried about Bernie Bros.
God, I love her insane Real Housewives face.
I know.
She's just like can't.
She just looks like a composite of all
She
of the
can't
Real
fucking
Housewives.
known
No.
cases here in the United States. As a result,
Babies have more contour on their face than her. Like,
the setting of this debate is also
Flat.
different to reduce unnecessary risk of transmission of the virus.
I would like a fun, sexy Eartha Kitt lady. She's probably super evil, but let's see.
I'd like some more, yes, please.
CNN studios in Washington without any audience.
And all of this comes, of course, as four
All right,
more
cool.
states, Florida
Someone cough on Jake Tapper, please.
Ugh, cuck.
on Tuesday, with Vice President Biden currently leading Senator Sanders in the race for delegates.
Oh, thanks for reminding us about that.
That's what matters right now.
I bet if it were reversed, they'd definitely tell you that straight off the bat.
As we know, this will be a conversation
Want to use this as a plate?
the two of you.
We hope you won't attack each other.
Coronavirus and what you would do as president in the face of it. Vice President Biden, let me start with you. We're in a reality right now.
He already looks
He looks
confused.
so confused.
He
and
already looks
scared.
confused and frightened.
God, can you imagine what like Biden debate prep is like?
Three-store shelves have been cleared out. March Madness, NBA games,
Disney parks, Broadway, small businesses.
No.
Oh,
Not
no.
Broadway. The lights
Not
are on.
Broadway.
Hamilton.
8 weeks, events that consist of 50 people or more throughout the U.S. be canceled or postponed. What do you say to the American people who are confronting this new reality?
First of all, my heart goes out to those.
Yes. Already
He's got it.
Fuck.
Okay, let's.
This is bigger than any one of us. This is calls for a national rally to everybody move together. And, I laid out in detail what I would do if were I president today. You can go to joebiden.com and I laid it out in significant detail. But there are 3 pieces. First of all, I have to take care of those who in fact are exposed or likely to be exposed to the virus. And that means we have to do testing. We have to get the testing kits up and ready. I would have the World Health Organization. I'd take advantage of the test kits they have available to us, even though the president says 1 million or more are coming. Let's just get all the tests we can done as quickly as we can. Secondly, I would make sure that every state in the union had at least 10 places where they had drive-through testing arrangements. I would also, at this point, deal with the need to begin
is not a
to
lot
plan
even for
for the need for
big-
additional.
Imagine a state like
State.
California has 10 drive-in
As
testing sites.
as well as with the FEMA, and they can set up 100
The
bed, 500
FEMA.
bed hospitals in tents quickly. We have to lay all that out, but we have to do.
I don't know, man.
Open the
Testing
FEMA
seems like-
camps.
quickly.
Testing
And
seems
that
like
means
that's
making
closing
sure
the barn
people who,
door
in fact,
after the
lose their
horses are
job,
out.
Don't get a paycheck.
Yeah, but they
can't
do
pay
need-
their
we
mortgage,
still need to
are
have
able to
track
pay
it, even
and
if
pay
we-
their
Biden is like
bills.
so demented, it feels like
Now,
contagious.
small
Like I try to like
businesses
trace
will
what he
involve
says and I feel like I'm
industry
getting
law. I
it.
see my time is up here. Are you gonna hold
He's
me
doing
to
the
that?
time is up thing again.
That's what I would do. Go to joebiden.com.
Go to
Go
joebiden.com.
to
303.
joebiden.com.
Go to drjillbiden.com.
Senator Sanders
Joe
this morning
Biden.
Go to rotten.com.
Wait, hold on.
acknowledged
He's
that it's
talking.
possible that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans could die from the coronavirus.
He's
in a
coughing
worst-case
again.
scenario. If you were president right now, what's the most important thing you would do tonight to try to save American lives?
First thing we have got to do, whether or not I'm president, is to shut this president up right now. Because he is undermining the doctors and the scientists that are
Bernie,
trying to
don't.
help the American people. It is unacceptable
Whether or
for him
not
to
I'm
be
president,
blabbering
the fuck?
with unfactual information which is confusing the general public. Second of all, what we need to do, and I'm glad that he has called a state of national emergency, what we have got to do is move aggressively to make sure that every person in this country finally understands that when they get sick with the coronavirus, that they
You
will,
said when.
that all payments will be made, that they don't have to worry about coming up with money for testing. They don't have to worry about coming up with money for treatment. This is an unprecedented moment in American history. Now, I obviously believe in Medicare for all. I will fight for that as president. But right now, in this emergency, I want every person in this country to understand that when you get sick, you go to the doctor. When you get sick, if you have the virus, that will be paid for. Do not worry about the costs right now because we're in the middle of a national emergency.
Good.
Second of all, we have to make sure that our hospitals have the ventilators that they need, have the ICU.
That's good. Bring up
units
the
that they need.
ventilators.
Right
It's a
now,
big
we
thing.
have a lack of medical
I also
personnel.
just noticed he
and
said
I worry
when
very
you get
much
the virus.
that if
Yeah.
there is
Good.
a peak, whether we have the capability of dealing with the hundreds of thousands of people who may be in hospitals. So we need unprecedented action right now to deal with the unprecedented crisis. And bottom line, from an economic point of view, what we have got to say to the American people, if you lose your job,
Yes.
you will be made whole.
This is very
You're
important.
Not gonna lose income.
Good.
If Trump can put, or the Fed can put $1.5 trillion into the banking system, we can protect the wages of every worker in America.
Good.
Thank you, Senator. Vice President Biden, President Trump says he does not take any responsibility for the problems with coronavirus.
Hell yeah, that was so awesome.
So cool.
In part because he says
Such
he inherited
alpha.
so many rules, regulations, and red tape.
Too much red tape,
Did
folks.
bureaucratic
Red tape caused
hamper
corona.
The red tape
this
caused the corona.
No, look,
Still
the
good.
World Health Organization offered the testing kits that they have available and to give it to us now. We refused them. We did not want to buy them. We did not want to get them from them. We wanted to make sure we had our own. I think he said something like, we have the best scientists in America, or something to that effect. The idea that we are not prepared for this and the other thing I want to point out, and I agree with
What?
Greg,
Huh?
we're in a situation where we have to now be providing for the hospitals that are going to be needed now. The present system cannot handle the surge that is likely to come.
So we should already be sitting down and planning where we're going to put these temporary hospitals. And we can
I
do
just
that.
want him to
We
cough
did
again
that
so
with
bad.
Yeah, just let's see the cough.
coronavirus.
I would never
We've been
trust
through this
anyone who
before.
has
Excuse me,
that
we've been through
those
this before
veneers.
with,
I would never listen to their
Yeah.
advice on
viruses
healthcare.
that- The N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa. We provide
H1N1, dude.
hospitals
You bungled
dealing
it right
with
there.
These great pandemics, and we are
He was gonna say paninis.
and people would have
Teeth
These
are-
massive paninis.
My day, you just put it in the toaster. You didn't have to mess with any kind of press or whatnot. It's just come on now.
polydentist
That's
is-
malarkey.
There
There
you
go.
Both of you have addressed this, but obviously another major health concern right now for officials is the potential surge in patients all at once, overburdening hospitals, the healthcare system. You've mentioned ICU beds, both of you, and ventilators. We're already in the middle of flu season, so already a lot of those beds and ventilators are already being used. If you were president right now, what would you do to make sure every sick American is able to get treatment so the U.S. does not suffer the same fate as Italy, where doctors have to decide right now who gets life-saving treatment and who does not?
I don't know. Go back in time 20 years. That's just about the only thing that would work.
Yeah.
Virus pandemic exposes the incredible weakness and
Yes.
dysfunctionality
Yes.
of our current healthcare system.
Indeed.
Correct.
Now, we're spending twice as much per person on healthcare as the people of any other country. How in God's name does it happen that we end up with 87 million people who are uninsured or underinsured, and there are people who are watching this program tonight who say, I'm not feeling well. Should I go to the doctor, but I can't afford to go to the doctor? What happens if I am
Good,
sick?
good.
It's going to cost thousands of dollars for treatment. Who's going to feed my kids? We are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people.
Good.
We're spending so much money, and yet we are not even prepared for this pandemic. How come we don't have enough doctors? How come hospitals in rural areas are shutting down?
Yes, that's a huge thing.
How
Nobody
come
fucking
It's
talks
because of
about.
Joe
we can't
Biden's
afford
brother,
to get
actually, is the
the
reason for one of
drugs
those.
they need because we have a bunch of crooks who are running the pharmaceutical
Like Joe
industry.
Biden's
They
friends and
rip us off
relatives.
every single day.
Crooks.
I'll tell you something.
Literally Joe Biden's friends
In
and
the midst
relatives.
of this epidemic, you got people in the pharmaceutical industry who are saying, oh, wow, what an opportunity to make a fortune.
Yeah.
So the word
Good.
has got to go out. I certainly would do this as
He's doing
president.
good on this shit. He's
You
landing
don't
this
worry.
stuff. He just
People
needs
of
to
America
attack
He needs to
do
attack
not
Biden.
worry
at
He
some
needs
point.
to connect us to
of prescription
Biden.
drugs.
Yeah.
Do not worry about the cost of the health
like,
care
you know who
that
takes
you're
money
gonna
from
get,
pharmaceutical
because
companies?
we are a nation, a civilized,
This
democratic society. Everybody, rich and poor, middle class, will get the care they need. The drug companies will not rip us off.
Thank you, Senator. Vice President Biden, some medical experts are saying the only true
Look how
way
That you have
confused
all
he
Look how
looks.
confused he looks.
national quarantine.
He looks like a dog
requiring
being
every
shown a card
American
trick.
other than essential personnel to stay home. Would you take that unprecedented step of a national lockdown?
What I would do is what we did in our administration. I would call a meeting in the Situation Room of all the experts in America dealing with this crisis.
Yeah, all my
Okay.
favorite
Bring
characters.
them all in. We bring them all in. We'd watch the Steven Soderbergh movie Contagion. There's a lot of good knowledge in there. It
Bring home all my
predicted
friends.
the future.
All the characters for movies and TVs and video games.
Entire system in Italy.
It's got Kate Winslet, Jude Law,
It has
Matt
nothing to do
Damon.
with Medicare for all. That would not solve the problem at all. We can take care of that right now by making sure that no one has to pay for treatment, period, because of the crisis. No one has to pay for whatever drugs are needed, period, because of the crisis. No one has to pay for
Back to gouging them the second it's over.
Yeah, exactly. It would,
That is a national emergency, and that's how it's handled. It is not working in Italy right now, and
Well-
they have a single-payer system. Now, with regard to what else I would
Okay,
do,
all right.
the fact
Biden threw a
is that
punch.
We're in a position where
Biden's
he
literally
drew first blood.
He
He
drew first blood.
He drew
Come on,
first
Bernie.
blood.
He drew first blood, Bernie.
in the
Bernie,
United States,
Talk about his brother
Take out the
closing down
Alzheimer's
hospitals for money.
test.
do what we did before with the Ebola crisis. What is needed, and have one voice.
Ebola.
one voice,
That was
like
nothing.
We did every day we met in that crisis in the Situation Room, laying out. So we lay out.
What Bernie should say is like, yeah,
overall,
Italy
all
looks
nations,
bad,
what
but
the
like
best
because of their
proposal is
single-payer
and how
healthcare
to move
system,
forward. In the
just
absence
waiting
of
for
that,
2 weeks in this
government
country
needs
how
to
bad
sit
it's
down
going to fucking
Exactly.
look
Yeah.
here without
Also,
it.
they're Italians. They don't count.
Yes.
That's not a real
Talk about
country.
Failed state and
Failed
also
state.
kind of like Koreans where
But
they
it
think
should
that
be
like
directed
ceiling
from
fans
Yeah.
can make you sick.
From the Situation Room, laying out in detail like we did in the Ebola crisis, and we beat it.
I want him to say the
still
Obama
kind of believe in
crisis
my
so
ass.
bad.
I'm waiting for him to slip up and
Here we
call
go. Here we go.
Obama
Here we go.
Osama.
Oh, wait.
Of the current healthcare system is obviously apparent. As I said earlier, there are people who hesitate, go to the doctor. You're going to have a maze of regulations. Well, if this is my income, if that's my income, can I get it? Can I not get it? Clearly, we are not prepared, and Trump only exacerbates the crisis. when we spend twice as much per capita on healthcare as any other nation, one might expect that we would have enough.
We can't turn the
doctors
debate up.
all
They'll
over this
fucking
country. One
cancel
might
us.
expect that we would have affordable
Idiot.
prescription drugs. One might expect that we are preparing effectively for a pandemic, that we were ready with the ventilators, with the ICUs, with the test kits that we need. We are not. And bottom line here is, in terms of Medicare for all, despite what the vice president is saying, what the experts tell us is that one of the reasons that we are unprepared and have been unprepared is we don't have a system.
God bless
We
him.
got thousands of private insurance plans.
Yes.
That is not a system
Yes.
that is prepared to provide health care to all people. In a good year, without the epidemic, we're losing up to 60,000 people who die every year because they don't get to a doctor on time.
Speak on it.
And clearly this crisis is only making a bad situation worse.
That has nothing to do when you're in a national crisis.
Huh?
National
What?
crisis says
What?
Okay, here we go.
What?
What the?
it's all free. You don't have to pay for
But
it.
it isn't.
That has nothing to do with whether or not you have an insurance policy. This is a crisis. We're at war with the virus. It has nothing to do with co-pays or anything. We just passed laws. It has nothing to do with co-pays or anything. We just passed
That's
the
not
period.
true. As a matter of fact, that's not true. That law has enormous loopholes. I understand that Nancy
we go.
Pelosi did her best. Republicans prevented it.
She did not.
What you're
Wait.
talk-
See, that's the
what you're talking about, Joe, here is enormous loopholes within that in fact, it is not necessarily covering treatment for all people in America, and that people are going to be stuck with a bill unless we change that. And we're going to offer legislation to, in fact, change that.
If I may, I offered legislation. I laid out on my plan that it would cover exactly what is not covered by the House. I laid out in the plan that I laid out for while we would deal with this crisis. Nobody will pay for anything having to do with the crisis. This is a national emergency. There isn't a question of whether or not this is something that could be covered by insurance or anything else. We, out of the Treasury, are going to pay for this.
But then why not
It's a
just keep doing it
national
after the
emergency.
fucking
That's what my
emergency?
plan calls for.
But the weakness of this is, let's just do a hypothetical.
After an
Yeah.
emergency, you
Yes.
just use the
Family
system.
members diagnosed with the virus.
Yep.
Terrible tragedy, massive anxiety. The wife has the virus, the husband is a wreck, wants to go to a psychologist, wants to get counseling, doesn't have the money to do that. Maybe their kid breaks a leg. They don't have the money to go to health care. So we're right now in the middle of a crisis. But you know what? Last year, at least 30,000 people died in America because they didn't get health care when they
Yes.
should, because we don't have universal coverage. I think that's a crisis. 1 out of 5 people in America cannot afford
There we
the
go.
drugs they need.
We're already in a
It's some-
crisis. That's
some
good.
die. I consider that a crisis.
Great.
Bottom line is, we need a simple system which exists in Canada, exists in countries all over the world. And that is,
Good.
if you are an American, you get the health care
Bernie,
you need.
you're doing
End
good,
of
but you
discussion.
have to go.
He's gotta go
We
after
say
this fucking
you use
scumbag.
our
If he's
money
not
doing
connecting
that.
it to
The trick
Biden,
is,
then it's
do we
what he's
have
been
the
saying the whole
guts
time.
Well, then I guess
to
I'm
take
just going to
on
have to
the
cough
healthcare
directly in
industry,
Joe Biden's
some of
mouth.
which is funding
That's
the
my
vice
mission in
president's
life now.
campaign.
Oh, there he goes.
We have the courage to
There he
take
goes.
on
There we go.
Executives at the prescription drug
Get him.
industry.
Yes.
Some of which,
Thank you,
some of
Senator
whom are
Vice
funding.
Yes, there we go.
I don't know what he said because
This is a national crisis.
He said
I don't wanna
he gets money from
back
insurance
and
companies,
forth
like you were talking
Good,
about.
good, good.
Politics here. I've laid out.
There will be some talking during it. I'm
building
sorry.
on Obamacare, providing a public option of Medicare that would cover everyone the same way. This idea that this is his only answer is a mistaken notion. But regardless of whether my plan was in place or his, this is a crisis. This is like we are being attacked from abroad. This is something that is of great consequence.
Really likes the war
ISIS
thing.
is doing the
And in a
corona.
war, you do whatever is needed to be done to take care of
And then you
your
stop doing
people. What you
anything,
do
even though it
is
would
you
prevent
provide
another
open
disaster in the
and
future
laid
from
out in
happening.
detail.
We've got a drone strike
Everything that
corona.
you need in terms of dealing with this crisis would be
Joe, the
free.
last war you
It is
helped start,
paid
we
for by the
lost.
taxpayer.
I don't know what confidence
It has
we should have in
nothing
your
to do with
war
Bernie's
leading
Medicare
abilities.
for all. And by the way,
Vice
But-
President,
but-
thank you.
Yep,
If I
yep.
may,
And by the
Vice
way, I'm
President
powering
just mentioned
down.
war. Would you deploy the U.S. military in effort to contain the virus? And if
What?
so, how?
What?
Well, I think we use all of the tools
Wait.
that make sense. And using the National Guard, which is...
Will we bomb the vi- will you bomb the virus?
Can we
That is
can we put
something
the
that
subtitles
has
back
to be
on?
done.
Okay, yeah.
This is clearly, as the Vice President indicated,
I think sometimes they just
national
stop when it's
No, I turned it off.
simulcast.
Yeah.
And what I worry about is not only how
Oh my
we
God, the
respond
simulcast guy has
aggressively
corona.
Oh no!
to the virus, but also how we respond aggressively to the economic fallout of a global recession. So right now in Illinois and Ohio, if my memory is correct, the governor there has said they're closing down bars, they're closing down restaurants. What happens to the workers who are there? What happens to the millions of workers who may end up losing their jobs? So what I think we have got to do right now is if Trump can provide, or the Fed can provide $1.5 trillion for liquidity for the banks, well, we've got to say to every worker in America, you know what? Don't panic. You'll be able to pay your mortgage,
Senator,
because you're going to get a check. You're going to be made
Senator, we're going
whole.
to talk about the economic. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Vice
The
President.
answer is I would call out the military. Now,
We will
we
drone
have the
strike
capacity
the virus.
to provide this surge help.
The
to
surge!
The surge.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I would make sure that they did exactly what they're prepared to do. They've done it. They did it in the Ebola crisis. They've done it. They have the capacity to build 500-bed hospitals and are in tents that are completely safe and secure and provide the help to get it done to anybody, this overflow. So it is a national emergency. I would call
What
out
about
the
all those
military.
hospitals
The
that
Ebola
we
crisis
could be
is one thing.
using
This
that
is
are already
obviously
built?
a pandemic which is far more severe
That have been
impactful
closed.
to this country. And I think one of the things that we want to remember here is that we got a lot of elderly people in this country who are told, stay home, don't leave your house. Who's going to get food to them? How do we get food to them? You got schools all over this country now being shut down. Okay?
Some
How are we
kids
going
only
to make sure
meals.
that the kids do well in this crisis, not become traumatized? What do we do about the
Animal
parents
Crossing
now
2
who
comes
stay
out for
home?
Switch next week.
Go-
Give it to every child in America.
Nationalize Animal
Nationalize
Crossing
Switch.
2.
Bottom line
Give
is,
them Animal
during
Crossing.
this crisis,
They need to be
we
entertained.
have got to start paying attention to the most vulnerable. That includes people who are in prison right now, and people who are in homeless shelters right now. What about the 500,000 people who are homeless tonight? Who's going to respond to them? Now, in 2008, when we had the Wall Street bailout, they did very well for the people on top. They bailed out the crooks on Wall Street. They forgot about the suffering of ordinary Americans. This time around, let us learn that lesson. Let us pay attention to the working
Thank you,
families in this
Senator.
country
We
and
have,
to the most
we
vulnerable.
have learned that lesson. And again, I lay out in detail. What we should be doing now is we should be surging help to those
Surging.
persons
What
who are
is
most
this?
vulnerable.
It's
We should
very
have
weird.
Every single person
I can't
that's
tell
in
if
the
this is a
nursing
strategy
No, it's
or
30
he's getting his wires
What it
crossed.
is it's 30 years on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He can only think in military terms.
He's like a-
It's all he can think about is in terms of who we're bombing.
Let's put David Petraeus in charge of the
Yes. Yeah.
coronavirus response.
You're gonna
Yeah.
close
If he's not too busy getting top from his biographer.
Yeah, he'll send a dick pic to the virus accidentally.
Close that school, those children are going to be able to get the school food program. How do you make sure that you're going to be able to see to it that you get your mortgage paid? I propose that all of that be covered, and it's going to take a multi-billion-dollar program to do that. But first things first. The first thing is take care of the immediate needs we have now relating to surging the kind of
Surging again.
Because what he's doing is emphasizing that any kind of social democratic safety net that we extend during the crisis will be revoked the second it's over.
Yeah.
He's making sure nobody gets used to these things.
Just like those wars.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
First, Senator Sanders,
And it's like-
We
It's
lost all those fucking
temporary.
wars.
Yes.
started in
temporary.
China.
Wait, hold on.
The government there censored the whistleblower doctor who sounded the alarm and downplayed the
Another,
gravity
they're
of the
fear-mongering
virus.
China right now.
Consequences should
Also, you know
China
who's
face.
dealing
Oh
with
my
corona
God, he's
pretty
asking
well?
how we're going to
China.
bomb
All
China.
the consequences
Are we going to
of the
bomb
other
China?
stuff that
Jesus
we're
fucking Christ.
that you cannot lie to the American people. You cannot be less than frank about the nature of the crisis. And what bothers me very much is you have a president
Amber, can I
of
get
the
a
United
claw when you're
States today, Mr. Trump,
Yeah, thanks.
who is praising China for the good work that they are doing, when in fact, as you indicated, they were lying. to
Oh,
the
whatever they
American
got, I'm
people
fine.
And allowing that virus to move much more aggressively than should have been the case. Look, I don't think this is the time for reclamation, to be punishing people. Now is the time, by the way, to be working with China. They are learning a lot about this crisis.
Good answer by Bernie.
No,
They-
we should be
Yeah.
drone
Yeah.
striking. We should be assassinating Chinese officials.
Matt Stoller is going insane
Yes,
right
he's
now.
very
by the
mad.
way.
He's
Yeah,
like, why are you not
really
talking
pissed
about
off right
nuking
now.
Beijing?
They're Nazi thugs.
The entire world is in this together. Got to support each other. This is that moment.
Oh boy,
That's why I'm not going to
God.
respond. That's why
Kills
I
me.
insisted the moment this broke out that we should insist on having our experts in China to see what was
What?
happening.
Who cares?
And make
Who
it
gives a
clear
shit?
to China there'd be consequences if we did not have that access. And we have
God,
to lead
Jesus
the world.
Christ.
We should be the ones doing what
Trying
we
to build
did
like
during
a
the
couple
Ebola,
hospitals in
bringing
like
the
a
whole
day or
world
something like
together
that.
And saying this is what we must do.
Matt, you're fucking
We
up the
have to have a
makeup.
common plan. All nations are affected the
Do
same
not touch
way
your
by
face
this virus.
because it will spread corona and fuck up the Joker makeup.
We need world leadership. We need international leadership. We need someone who knows how to bring the world together and insist on fundamental change in the way in which we're approaching this.
Senator
I'm
Sanders?
the same way, so I can't wear mascara. I rub my eyes.
The
out.
bottom line here is that in the
It's
midst
too late, dude.
happened already.
I'll buy
Too
you a
late.
new one. I'm sorry.
we have
I knew
got
this
to
one was
act
going to be
in an
done for.
unprecedented way. And that means every country on earth is going
Excellent.
to be
Oh, good.
affected. Every country on earth has got to
For
work together.
Jokerification.
It also means
That's good because I'm only
that
wearing this
until
from now on.
The pharmaceutical
I will only be.
Joker-fied.
I'm permanently Joker-fied.
This is not a time for profiteering. This is a time for all of us working together. The World Health
I mean, Bernie's
Organization
answers are very
is a
good, but he's
very
got to
strong-
rattle Joe. He's got to
has
knock him.
to.
He has to get Joe mad because when Joe gets mad, that's when he
That's when he gets
fritzes out.
really pissed.
That's when he fritzes out.
Yeah.
He's got to
Yeah.
knock him off the balance.
He's in,
Come
like,
on,
he's in angry
Bernie.
dementia
Obviously,
currently.
got
another
time.
part
Just
of this
find
story
crime
is
a
the
little
economy,
funny,
which is
Bernie.
reeling from this
Like
pandemic.
maybe misdemeanors.
Many
Just
economists
something.
are warning
Find
of
some
a
kind of
recession.
crime humorous.
Just hours ago, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates to near 0%, which has not happened since the financial crisis in 2008.
No one cares about this.
Vice President Biden, what would you do?
What I would do is make it clear to the world and make it clear to the United States that we are going to have a major, major, major bailout package that we do not reward
For banks
corporations,
and,
we reward
large
individuals
corporations
who,
only,
in
of
fact,
course.
are really put to the test here. The problem is the policies of this administration economically we've eaten a lot of our seed corn here. The ability
We've eaten a lot of
to
our
use
seed
what
corn
was
here.
available before
Never heard that
has been
phrase?
used
No.
up.
You've eaten
I'm
too
from
much of your
Iowa. I
seed
should know
corn?
that
Yeah,
phrase.
what the
Never
fuck?
heard that.
I've heard that
Yes.
phrase. That's a
I've
phrase.
Never heard the phrase "we've eaten the seed corn."
The first
or
time
he-
I
made
heard
that
it
up.
was from Virgil.
Totally made that up.
Yeah.
But it is a good one.
And so we're going to have to just level with the American people. And here's the
Again,
deal.
though, I
We're gonna
am
have
also
to
from a
not
corn
only
state,
deal with the
and
immediate
for some
crisis,
reason heard
You heard it
from
first from
someone in
Virgil
Florida.
because
most
he
critical
eats
now
seed corn. He
to
meant
let
that
people know
literally.
There he
Their
is.
mortgages are going to be paid. Their rents are going to be paid. They're going to have child care. They're going to make sure that all their medical bills are cared for.
They're not gonna
Wasn't this motherfucker just talking about how we can't expend any money on fucking healthcare like 2 months ago? Like we don't have the money for any of this stuff, and now it's like money's free and not real, and we can do whatever we want, but only for the crisis.
He's a modern monetary theory guy now.
And now he is, but only for the crisis. Money's fake, but only for the next 2 months. What a fucking scumbag!
Literally a piece of
I'm sorry. Shit, I'm sorry. I did not mean to do that. I'm sorry.
Senator Sanders?
The Ebola crisis, in my view, exposes the dysfunctionality of our healthcare system and how poorly prepared we are despite how much money that we spend.
Did he fuck up by saying
He said the
I
Ebola
don't-
virus.
Is
I-
also, I think,
let's hope not.
exposing the cruelty and the unjustness of our economy today. We have more income and wealth inequality in America today than any time in 100 years. And what that means that in the midst of this crisis, if you're a multimillionaire, no one's happy about this crisis. You're going to get through it. You're going to get everything you need. You're not worried about health care. You're not worried about income coming in. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. We got people who are struggling, working 2 or 3 jobs to put food on the table. What is going to happen to them? So the lesson to be learned is we have got to move aggressively right now to address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola. Keep talking about Ebola. You got Ebola in my head here right now.
Nice save.
Little
Nice
Larry
save.
David there. Talk about Ebola.
What we have got to do also is understand the fragility of the economy and how unjust and unfair it is that so few have so much and so many have so little.
People are looking for results, not a revolution.
Okay, what a
Results
can
they
fucking.
need right now. And we can do that by making
Bernie,
sure that we make
rattle him.
everybody whole.
Come on,
who
Bernie.
have-
He's attacked you twice
He's
now.
attacked
You
you
gotta
twice.
go at him.
They
Get a
lose
little
their jobs,
Joker-fied.
not having the ability to care for their children.
Just
in terms of the health
give him the Smilex gas.
Yes,
During
just
the
give him
commercial
some
break.
Smilex gas. Give him the electrical buzzer.
Now, Now,
Give him the
and
acid
put in
boot in the
process
air.
Just literally,
a
how many
system
fingers am I
whereby
holding
they
up?
all are made whole. That has nothing to do with the legitimate.
It's
concern
time to
about
address this
income equality
crisis.
in America.
And
That's
by
real.
time, I mean,
That's real.
Joe, draw a clock for me
That's
right now. Show me what time it is on this piece of paper.
Joe, where are we at this
Very
moment?
thorough
What is the name of the
and
city we are in?
concert with all the
Who's
forces
president
that we
right
need to
now?
bring to bear
Someone should just
to
tell
deal
Joe that
with
he
the
won and he's
crisis
president.
now, so no one's thrown out of their home. No one loses their mortgage. No one is kicked out of their house. No one loses their paycheck. No one is in a position where they
For the next
have
2 months.
a
After that, you're on your own.
significant financial disability as a consequence of this SARS, of this particular crisis.
Thank you, Vice President. Senator Sanders.
Well, I think it goes without saying that as a nation, we have to respond as forcefully as we can to the current crisis. But it is
Bernie, you gotta
not
get me.
good
Come
enough
on,
to
Bernie.
be understanding
That's it.
how we got here.
Smile though your
and
heart
where
is
we wanna
breaking.
go into the future. So how does it happen that today, in the wealthiest country,
Because Biden's a fucking crook. Because
half of our
people
people
like
are
Biden
scared to death?
do the bidding of corporations.
I agree. In fact, that was
Spill
why
the
I'm
tea
here
for the love of
to make
Christ.
Sure that every person in this country is made whole as a result of this crisis. But God willing, this crisis is going to end. And we are going to have to develop an economy in which half of our people are not living paycheck to paycheck and struggling to put food on the table.
I don't disagree with that. You were asking about the crisis. What are we going to do about the crisis now, which is incredibly consequential to millions and millions of Americans? And it's not going to be solved by a change in tax policy now. It's not going to be solved by a change in how we deal with health care. It's got to be solved with an emergency need right now. Right now. What do we do? First thing we do is make sure that health care is available by us having the tools to be able to deal with it, and that requires us to go out and do much more than this president has done in terms of planning. Secondly, it requires us to be in a position where we're anticipating what will happen in the next month or weeks in terms of the flow into the healthcare system by bringing the military along, more hospital beds, more training, more equipment.
You got to shoot the virus.
To save the first responders as
Okay.
well. In addition to that, we then have to also look at what are the immediate needs right today. How about that person who's been laid off today? How about that person who doesn't have an income today?
But
They have
4
to
months
know
from now,
that
fuck
tomorrow
them.
Fuck them.
when
Yeah.
the paycheck
Fuck them.
comes due, you will get
Well,
that
this is
paycheck.
absolutely
First, we
incoherent.
have
It's
to think
astounding.
long-term about how
He is
we
saying,
deal with
please,
making
whatever you do,
all those
don't
who've
do
been
anything.
badly
Don't take any
damaged
lessons
right
from this
again.
crisis
And
that
then
can
we
be
move
applied
on.
more broadly.
Then we move
Please
on
don't
to
do that.
change the economy in ways that are more profoundly necessary than people think, but do not respond to the immediate needs we have now. First things first.
Thank you, Vice President. Senator Sanders, you voted against bailouts following the 2008 financial crisis.
Yes.
Many believe those spending bills were a crucial part of stabilizing the economy back then. Would you support bailouts?
Many
for
dumb bitches
industries
believe
Yes.
that are being
Many,
touched by the
corporate meat
coronavirus
puppets believe
outbreak
that.
now?
I did. You're quite right. I voted against the bailout because I believe that the illegal behavior being done by the people on Wall Street should not be rewarded by a bailout. And today, by the way, those banks are more prosperous and own more assets by and large than they did back then. They're bigger now than they were then. I thought at the time that in the midst of massive income and wealth inequality, the people on top, through a surtax on the very wealthy, should bail out. And it's not just the talk bailout. We gave trillions of dollars in zero interest loans to large banks. But to answer your question, where we are right now, we need to stabilize the economy. But we can't repeat what we did in 2008. Joe voted for that.
Yes.
I voted against it.
There we go.
Because we have got to do more than save the banks or the oil companies. Our job right now is to tell every working person in this country, no matter what your income is, you are not going to suffer as a result of this crisis of which you had no control.
Vice President Pence.
Had those banks all gone under, all those people Bernie says he cares about would be in deep trouble. Deep, deep trouble. All those little folks.
Lie.
We'd have gone out of business.
The little
They'd
folks.
find themselves in a position where
The
they would lose
hobbits.
everything that they had
He's
in
literally
their bank.
attacking you, Bernie.
$10 or
Fucking come
$200
back.
of savings.
These motherfuckers recapitalized the
He'll
banks
know
on the
something.
backs of everyone
Did
else.
Save the economy.
Say
And the
something about
banks
it, for the
paid
love of
back. They
Christ.
paid back with
Wait
interest.
for it.
I agree with Bernie. Some of them should have gone to jail. That was the big
Yeah,
disagreement.
Oh, yeah. What was the deal with
Yeah,
that?
you.
But the question was, they paid back. In addition to that, it also, part of that was bailing out the automobile industry, saving thousands of jobs.
Yeah, where are those jobs
at
now?
a time.
Fuck the
We
automobile
voted against that
industry.
as well.
Jesus Christ.
I did not vote against that. That bailout money was used later on by Bush to protect the automobile industry. But here's the point. One minute. Here's the point here, is that in terms of that bailout, there are ways that you can bail out when you have a handful of people who have incredible wealth, who have prospered off of the illegal behavior of individuals, in this case on Wall Street. You know what you say to them? You want to, and I did. I said this to the Secretary of Treasury. You want to bail out? That's fine. You have your friends pay for it, not working people. The other point is, as Joe should know, it wasn't just the $700 billion TARP program. The Fed gave trillions and trillions of dollars in zero interest loans to every financial institution in this country and central banks all over the world. That was essentially a grant, because they then could sell that. They can then bring in interest rates much greater than the zero interest loans that they got.
Vice President Biden.
Look, the fact of the matter is that if, in fact, the banks had all been gone under, we would be in a Great Depression.
Just saying over again, just like a
How do you
fucking
get out of that?
banging
Now, Bernie's
cymbal
saying that,
monkey.
I guess he's going to do a wealth tax or something, that the top 1% could pay for everything, and they should pay for everything that occurred.
Yeah,
We were talking
yeah.
about tens and hundreds
can't.
of billions of dollars. That's what this was about. And the fact was that it saved the economy from going into a depression. After we passed the Recovery Act, which I was the one who went out and got the 3 votes to get it changed, that had $900
How about if you bail
billion
these fucking
in it,
banks and
and
financial
was the big-
institutes
was
out?
the thing
Bail
that
them
kept us
out,
from
but
going
take
into
them
a Great
over.
Depression.
Yeah.
If you give them the
Vice
money.
President Biden,
Nationalize
I'm
them.
gonna
Nationalize all of them.
Many of the 11 million
Get some fucking
undocumented
equity
immigrants
out of it,
and now
some
even
control
many
over the fucking
illegal immigrants
process.
in the United States are afraid. to
Miami-Dade
seek
mayor
medical help.
advises residents
How do
to
you
assume
ensure
everyone is
they feel
infected with
safe
coronavirus.
enough to get treatment to help stop the spread?
This is about Andrew Gillum again.
Anyone who shows up to be tested for coronavirus or gets coronavirus and is treated would be held harmless. Just like I've argued all along, any woman who crosses the border or is here and being beaten by her husband, but she's an undocumented, she
What?
cannot
An
be
undocumented.
deported
She's an
because she reports.
undocumented.
There are certain things you cannot deport an undocumented alien for. An undocumented
Documented alien.
Come on.
Send
Yeah,
them back to Area
document-
51.
You got to document the
She
aliens.
still ended up saying the wrong
It's
word.
in their interest that that woman come forward or that man come forward, because it deals with keeping the spread from moving more rapidly.
Listen, I'll
They
put the
will
FBI
not,
on this.
should not,
Mulder
under
and Scully.
circumstances, be held
The
accountable
man, my
and
friend, he
deported-
smokes cigarettes.
deported for
He's
that.
a cigarette smoking man. He can deal with the aliens.
Criticized because the
Arizona
proposal for
schools are
Medicare
also
for all that I
closed.
introduced
But the
includes
election will go on.
making sure that undocumented people are
Do you all
also
vote tomorrow?
covered.
Tuesday.
And right now, we
I don't
have
know, they might
the
cancel it.
absurd situation.
They should.
where
I mean,
undocumented
obviously they
people
should,
who
but, like,
try to
they
do
also
the
have a
right
very
thing,
vested
sick, they
interest
wanna
in
go
getting
to
it
the
over
doctor,
with.
They don't want to spread this disease, are now standing and thinking about whether ICE is going to deport them. So one of the things that we have to do is to make sure that everybody feels comfortable getting the health care that they need. That should be a general principle above and beyond the coronavirus. Second of all, we've got to end these terrible ICE raids, which are terrorizing communities all over this country. And thirdly,
I'm the only one who wants to abolish ICE. Joe wants to keep it open. It's right there for you, man. Come on.
You need to distinguish yourself from Joe.
You gotta make these. You gotta draw these
You gotta draw,
contrasts.
He's too
you gotta
nice.
draw
And
contrasts.
On day one as president, I would restore the legal
Senator.
status of the 1.8
Senator,
million
thank you. We're
young
going to talk
people
about
in DACA.
immigration in a minute, but first I want to ask about something that's going on right now. Again, back to this
Unlike
crisis. We
immigration,
know
which
that
isn't going
people
on right now.
over the age of 60 and those with underlying medical conditions, especially heart disease, lung disease, and diabetes, are the most vulnerable to coronavirus and are being asked to change their behavior to protect themselves. So, Senator Sanders, I'll start with you. You're 78 years old. You had a heart attack. What are
Oh
you doing to
God.
protect yourself?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Last night, we had a fireside chat.
Are you washing your hands, Senator?
Have you eaten an apple today?
They're gonna ask. They're gonna ask Bernie about his heart attack, but literally.
What's your weight regime?
Yeah.
What are you working with?
I mean, yeah, no, yeah, exactly. You think Biden will get a question
No.
about this?
No.
Is working from home. So on a personal level, what we're doing is, I'm not shaking hands. Joe and I did not shake hands. And I am very careful.
I will
about
shake
the
hands with
people
Joe.
I am interacting
Everyone
with.
shake hands with Joe,
I'm
please.
Every
using
single
a
person
lot
on earth
Cough
shake
in
hands
his
with Joe
face.
Biden.
Spit in yours and then shake
sanitizer
his.
Spit in his
to
face.
make sure that,
Stink palm
I
Joe
do not
Biden.
get the infection.
That is the way
And I
forward.
have to say, thank God right now I do not have any symptoms, and I feel very grateful for that.
Vice President Biden, you're 77. What are you doing to protect yourself?
Well, fortunately, I don't have any of the underlying conditions you talked about that I have to worry about.
I'm totally healthy.
He's drawing a contrast with Bernie
Yes.
again
Yeah,
right
exactly.
there.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
He's
Bernie, he's teeing off on
Yeah.
you, man. You gotta fucking.
I'm taking all the
this is
precautions
absolutely
I'm taking
stunning.
when They're 30 years old.
I can't
60
believe
years
it.
old, or 80 years old. And that is, I want to make sure that I do not shake hands any longer. I do not engage.
I do not stiff hair any longer.
Stop sniffing hair.
I do not
No
suck
more
my wife's
shoulder
fingers
rubs.
anymore. No unwanted shoulder. Yeah.
I no longer drop pencils into the exposed butt cracks of women I see.
As I said, when we encounter people, we're not going into crowds. And so I'm taking all the precautions everyone
No
else
more.
should be taking.
No more.
This is funny because for the last
unrequested
2
back rubs.
weeks he was doing all of that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Perfect excuse for him to
Matter of
never
fact,
have to
I my
have
bag
any
outside
interface with the
here.
public.
Hand sanitizer. I don't know how many times a day I use that. I make sure I don't touch my face and so on.
I've just been. Son, I got a flask full of Purell. I've been pulling on that thing all day.
Throughout this campaign, you've each laid out starkly different visions for how to bring about change. Vice President Biden, Senator Sanders is calling for a political revolution. You said people want results, not a revolution. Make the case for why a revolution is not what the country needs.
Oh my God.
make the case for the
Tell
thing
these
you've been saying
idiot peasants
before.
why they should expect less.
Do you think we should
Disrupt
kill Chris
everything in the
Matthews?
media. Look, Bernie talks about, the senator talks about his Medicare for all. He still hasn't told you how he's going to ever get it passed. He hasn't told you how, in fact, there's any possibility.
How's he going to
of
pass
passing.
his everybody
He hasn't
gets
told you how
everything
much
for
it's gonna
free for the
cost.
next 3
He hasn't
months
told you how
plan?
it's going to apply. It doesn't kick in for 4 years, even after it passes. We want a revolution. Let's act now. Pass the Biden health care plan.
Yeah, that'll pass.
Yeah, that'll pass.
That'll pass. The same that Republican Congress that fucked over Obamacare. Definitely going to pass your Biden
Make sure
plan.
that there's no hidden bills. Make sure that we invest. I want to invest $50 billion in dealing with underlying diseases that are of great consequence: diabetes, Alzheimer's, and cancer. Make
I
sure
suffer
that
from all of
there's
them.
an option that's in a public option providing Medicare for us. We can do that now. I can get.
No, we
that
fucking
passed.
can't.
I can get that done if I'm president of the United States of America.
I just love it. He just says, "I can get it passed. I can get it done." Can someone?
Yeah, no, he's hammering
Yeah.
Bernie on not being
See, but
detailed
that's
for
just the
this by
thing.
like
Is that
using the same kind of big.
believe him because he was in the Obama administration, and people remember them and remember all of their accomplishments, and believe that they got things done.
Not quite true.
$30+ trillion plan.
Not quite true.
Senator Sanders.
Look,
He's attacking you.
something
Go
that's
for
not
it.
Really done in the Congress. Let's do something that the media doesn't do. Let's talk about the reality of American life. Why is it that over the last 45 years, despite the huge increase in productivity and technology, the average worker today is not making a nickel more in real dollars? Why is it that over the last 30 years, the richest 1% have seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth, bottom half of America, $900 billion decline in their wealth? Why is it that we are the only major country
Joe's
not
getting
to
angry.
guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Why are we the only major country not to have paid medical and family leave? Why do we give tax breaks to billionaires when 500,000 people are homeless today? And it comes down to something, Jake, we don't talk about. The power structure in America. Who has the power? And I'll tell you who has the power. It's the people who contribute money, the billionaires who contribute money
To Biden, to
political-
Joe Biden,
campaign.
who control the legislative.
to him.
Those people have the power. And if you want to make real changes in this country, if you want to create an economy that works for all, not just the few, if you want to guarantee quality health care to all, not make $100 billion in profit for the healthcare industry, you know what you need? You need to take on Wall Street. You need to take on the drug companies and the insurance companies and the fossil fuel industry.
He takes money from all of them.
Contributions
Say it.
from them.
Draw
you
the
take
fucking
them on
line.
and create an
You
economy
don't take
that works for all.
contributions from
He
him.
didn't say it.
that,
He didn't say
do
it.
what I proposed over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Federally fund all elections. no private contributions in the election process. If you want to do that, join me. Join me in my constitutional amendment that I've been proposing.
Kidding me.
Maybe you and I can work on that together, because that would fundamentally change it. And the implication is I've not accepted a contribution from anybody over $2,800, number one.
Because you're legally not allowed to. That's the legal limit, you fucking scumbag.
$33 million, average contribution $51. The idea that this is Bernie's implication is somehow I'm being funded by millionaires. Bernie, look, in the last
He's getting mad.
He's getting mad even though he didn't attack him on it. How much madder would he be if he'd said it out loud?
I don't know. Let's see.
And I still won.
Senator Sanders?
It's good that you had an idea 30 years ago
Okay.
The last time you had a fucking cogent
Yes,
thought,
sir. Okay,
bitch.
hold on.
that you have right now, which is running very ugly negative ads about me. By the way.
Yeah, there we go.
Don't laugh, Joe. That's just the truth.
Ooh, here we go. Come on,
And
Joe. Come on, Bernie.
PACs running ads against us. Why don't you just say right now, go on television and say, hey, you know what? I think in the past, Joe, if I'm not mistaken, you condemned super PACs. Is that correct?
You get rid of the 9 super PACs you have?
I don't have 9 super. I don't have
You
any
have
super
9.
PACs.
You want me to list them?
No, yeah, you go ahead. Listen.
Okay, come on. Give me it.
Okay.
He can't.
I told you. I told you.
You got a super PAC is running negative. But here's the point. This is the point. In the richest country in the history of the world, half of our people should not be struggling to put food on the table.
Don't
back
what are you
It doesn't
doing?
matter. It doesn't matter.
fuck?
Joe's gonna get mad again.
In which big money interests not only dominate the political system, but dominate our economy as well. Somebody makes a decision, we're going to shut down a factory in America, we're
It's a
going to move
long
to China,
debate.
we're going to move to Mexico, pay people starvation wages there. This is an issue that has got to be ultimately dealt with. Who has the power in America? Are we content with so few exercising so much power when so many people have given up on the political process?
I proposed a significant change in the tax code, and I've been proposing it for a long, long time. Number one. Number two, it's not just about taxing the super wealthy. It's about making sure everybody pays their fair share. For example, I can pay for my whole health care plan by changing the way in which we deal with capital gains. People should pay their capital gains based
No
on
one
their
cares.
income tax.
No clue that even
And not
is.
at 20%.
I refuse to learn.
Will not.
The subhead here is political revolution versus improving the system. That's how they're framing this right here on CNN.
And I do not believe, and I have not supported these
Look at his face.
exorbitant tax cuts for the wealthy. I strongly oppose
Look at his face.
the tax cut that this president
I'm
has
telling
put
you,
through of
a slow boil could do it.
$1 billion.
We'll see.
And I said at the time, this was all about trying to eliminate the safety
He was
net.
all riled up
The
when he let him off
idea
the
that
hook.
Bernie implies, the way he says things, speaking of negative ads, my Lord, Bernie, you're running ads saying I'm opposed to Social Security.
You are. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about it.
Lie, and that the
Let's
Lord
talk
boil.
about it.
said
Slow
is a
boil.
flat lie.
Oh, well, let me ask you a question, Joe.
Yeah.
You're right here with me.
Yeah.
Have you been on the floor of the Senate? You were in the Senate for a few years.
Yeah.
Time and time again, talking about the necessity, with pride, about cutting Social Security.
Here we go.
Cutting Medicare,
Here we go.
cutting veterans programs.
No.
You never-
Lying!
No.
All right. America, go to the website right now. Go to the YouTube right now.
Yes.
The
Time
YouTube.
after
Oh.
time, you were not a fan of Bo Simpson.
I was not a fan of
You
Bush.
were not a fan of the balanced budget amendment, which called for cuts in Social Security.
Yes.
Come on, Joe, you won. Look,
Oh!
why don't you just tell the truth here? We all make mistakes.
I am telling the truth. You said that I, in fact, why am I rated 96% by the Social Security Organization? Why am
Social
I-
Security Organization. What the fuck is that?
I have laid out how I will increase Social Security.
Well, that's good.
benefits.
I laid that out.
I have laid out how I'm going to make
Okay,
sure
let me-
that it is in fact paid for.
Jake.
Go to JoeBiden.com. Look at
my God.
Paul Ryan on his desire to try to privatize and/or cut Social Security,
Okay.
and understand how he manipulated an
No, Joe, let me repeat it again. I want you just to
To get it.
straight with the American people. I am saying that you have been on the floor of the Senate.
Yes, he has.
Time and time
He did.
again.
It's recorded.
Talking about the need to cut
Yes,
Social
yes.
Security, Medicare, and veterans programs. Is that true or is that
No,
not
it's
true?
not true.
He's lying.
That is not true. What is true is,
Bernie, don't let him
in
off.
terms of the negotiations that are taking
But
place.
the thing is, like, if he's going to lie, what's he going to do? They're not going to stop the debate and play the tape.
Any of those cuts. in Social Security or in veterans
Whoa,
benefits.
whoa. Everything was on the table. All right, you're right. You just said it, including, in your judgment, cuts to Social
Yes.
Security and benefits.
In order to get the kinds of changes we need on other things related.
Joe, then
But,
you
it
just...
didn't, but we did not cut it.
I know.
Oh,
because
oh,
people
oh.
like me help stop that.
Yeah.
You just Joe, you just contradicted yourself. 1 minute, one minute you said, I was not on the floor. The next minute you say, well, yes, there was a reason why I was worried about the deficit. Maybe that's a good reason, maybe it's not. All that I am saying is you were prepared to cut and advocated for the cuts of programs.
I did not.
How about one of you
I
idiots
never
fucking like adjudicate this, since
Yeah.
this is like objective information.
Well, look,
He's
I
lying.
voted to protect it. Just go look at the debate with Paul Ryan for the vice president.
he was right. You
Look
said
at
Paul
what
Ryan
I
was
did.
right.
And Bernie, will you acknowledge your campaign took out of context that whole exchange between Paul Ryan? Are you saying PolitiFact is wrong? Are you saying
Yes.
PolitiFact is wrong a whole lot of times.
Yes. Ah!
wrong on that, Bernie?
Joe,
He's talking about PolitiFact. He's lying out of his ass.
you answer mine.
I answered yours.
No, you didn't. One more time. Were you on the
One
floor
more time.
time and time again, for whatever reason, talking about the need to cut Social Security and Medicare and Veterans programs?
No, I did not.
Liar!
The need to cut any of those.
You lying sack of shit.
The American people go to you.
Why the fuck aren't they telling just like?
Many times on
How about you adjudicate an objective fucking question?
Because they're bad.
No, you
people
can't
and they're
rely
not
on
our
them.
side.
I know.
Anything.
Get
I
the
know,
Apollo
I know.
Theater Sandman out there.
And you've been talking about it. I want to ask you about something that you wrote in 1996. You were a member of the House, and you wrote an op-ed that said,
Oh, here we are to
"It's
save
clear
Joe
people
Biden
have
right
to
here."
Make incremental adjustments in Social Security taxes and benefits."
Upwards, you fucking scumbags!
Incremental
They're saving his ass!
Adjustments that I advocated and have advocated for years is, among other things, increasing
Yes.
the cost
Yeah.
of assistance. No,
He's
you're not
calling them
gonna
out on their
find me
bullshit.
ever calling for cuts to Social Security. Right now, for example, we determine COLAs by looking at inflation for the general population rather than segregating the higher costs that seniors are paying for prescription drugs and for health care. That's what I was talking about. I have, in fact, when Joe and others were enamored with the so-called bold citizen effort, which included cuts to Social Security or raising the retirement age, I formed, along with people like Barbara Boxer, the Defending Social Security Caucus to say no. When 20% of our seniors are trying to get by on $13,000 a year or more, we are not going to cut Social Security.
Going after Joe's
Florida,
Vice President
Arizona hears
Biden.
this.
That was a
Yesterday,
huge
you
life
endorsed
raft they
an
tried to throw to Joe
They
Biden.
didn't
right
read
there.
off his fucking quotes where he literally said cut it.
Yeah.
You helped pass in 2005. A few hours ago, you announced support for making public college tuition free for families who make less than $125,000 a year, something Senator Sanders has supported. What changed?
Two things. Number one, let's talk about the bankruptcy bill. The bankruptcy bill was passing overwhelmingly, and I improved it. I had a choice. It was going to pass, and a Republican president, Republican Congress, and I offered two amendments to make sure that people under $50,000 would not be affected, and women and
Bernie does
children
not.
would
Bernie does not like
alimony
that.
and support payments. That's what I did. It passed overwhelmingly. I did not like the rest of the bill, but I improved it, number one. Number two, I've talked with Senator Warren about her proposal. This is the first opportunity we've had to make substantial
proposal to
change
screw
in what
Bernie
we
out of
couldn't
the
get
nom.
done in a Republican administration.
I bet you
That's why
talked to
we
Senator
last
Warren.
week.
Yeah.
I bet you
No,
talked to her
months
a
ago.
lot. I bet you talked to her very, very closely about things going forward.
She should be credit for having introduced it. With regard to what we're talking about in terms of college education, I've been saying for a long time that we're in a position where 12 years of education is not enough for the 21st century. We need 16 years of education.
Ugh, fuck
The
college.
exact bill that
I'm good, thank you.
Senator Sanders introduced, I guess a little over a year ago, capping it off at $125,000 in income. You could get free up to that point. After that, you'd have to pay for your college education. It only worked for public schools, and it would work for public universities in your state. I support that idea. It was a good idea, and I support it.
Sausage
And
was
so
excellent.
that's what
Yeah.
it is. And
It was
I
a
understand
spicy.
everything Bernie's
I like the
saying is wrong.
spicy.
He happens to be right on that one.
Senator Sanders, I assume you welcome these changes.
Look, this is a little bit about leadership as well. Joe talked about bankruptcy. Joe, if my memory is correct, you helped write that bankruptcy bill.
I did
Yes.
not.
All right?
Yes, you
did.
You talked about education.
To be fair, it's not a lie if he doesn't remember doing it.
Yes?
Yeah.
Some of them really struggling with student debt. And that bankruptcy bill made it impossible, very difficult for people to escape from that student debt. It was a very, very bad bill. You said, Joe, that a majority of the people in the Senate voted for it. You're right.
Overwhelming majority.
Overwhelmingly. Well, I voted against
Yes!
it
Yes!
in the House, and I was right.
Yes!
And I don't have to rethink my position.
Yes!
Because that's what leadership is about.
Get him,
I don't
get him,
know
get
Bruh,
him,
bruh,
get
the
him.
popular vote. But
Get
it's
his
just
fucking
like
sundowning
The
ass!
difference between Joe and I on higher education is 4 years ago. It was not a popular idea, Joe. I'm glad you're coming around now.
Yeah.
4 years ago when I said that public colleges and universities should be tuition free, people were saying, Bernie, that's a radical idea. Well, you got states and cities and counties all over the country that are moving in that direction. And I'm glad that Joe is on board. But what leadership is about
Slow boil.
is going
Well, we'll
forward
see.
when
Slow
it's not
boil.
popular.
See what happens.
When it's an
just
idea
need
that you
one
get
blood
criticized
vessel
for.
to pop.
So I'm proud of
Right
that
here.
fact. And I'm proud of my leadership on many issues.
Shooting at his
Joe,
eyes like a horny
the
toad.
campaign has come around. I talked about raising that minimum wage $15 an hour 4 years ago, Joe.
So did I, and I went out and campaigned
$15
for it.
an hour?
$15 an hour, New York City. Go talk to the governor.
I will talk
went
to
up
the
there.
guy. I'm not aware of that.
All right.
I am not aware
You
of
should
that.
be aware. Look.
All right.
here's-
4 years ago, it was a radical idea. Very few people in Congress were talking about it.
I
Go
wasn't
ahead,
in
Vice
co-
President.
Well, here, look. Let's get something straight about the bankruptcy bill. The bankruptcy bill already, it did not affect student debt for 90% because the law had already been passed. You could not declare bankruptcy for those loans that were from private institutions. You couldn't do it. And so the bankruptcy bill didn't affect that. It affected 10% of the people.
Who
The
fuck
first
them?
10% of the student loans, number one. Number two, now we're in a position where we're able to correct that problem. The fact is, if I hadn't stepped up and changed the law as it relates to people making less than $50,000, those who for alimony and child support, then guess what? They would have been in the bucket too. It was going to pass anyway. I made
Who's
it.
in a
Let me
bucket?
finish.
Gotta
I
get
made
that
it
bucket. Is that
another
significantly
phrase?
better. I did not
I haven't-
like the
I don't know
bill.
that
I
one.
did not support the bill, and I made it
It's
clear.
because
Well,
Joe's
the bucket's got a
Joe's
hole
left foot
in
is
it.
in a bucket right now behind the podium.
Calls
He
for
stepped in it before coming on stage.
fundamentally changed the mistakes we couldn't correct in the bill the first time around.
I love Bernie's
and that
reactions.
is why I support Elizabeth
Some great
Warren's
Bernie
budget.
reaction gifts are going to come out of
Anyway,
tonight's event.
Senator Sanders, go ahead.
Well, this is kind of circular logic. We're going to reform the bill that I voted for. Well, if you hadn't voted for it, and if you had rallied other people, as I try to do in the House voting against it, we might not have the problems with it we have today. You know what leadership is about, Joe, and it deals with, whether, your opposition or your support, I should say, for legislation regarding gay communities and the so-called defense
I gotta
of
say,
marriage
I mean,
Act. You remember
he's
that,
lying
right?
the
Okay, wait, hold
lying
on.
his ass off right now, and
It
that
was,
could hurt him.
Gay marriage
If anyone's
today
paying
is
attention.
considered a little
Okay,
bit
wait,
differently
wait.
than it was 25 years ago. I remember that vote. It was a very hard vote. I voted against the Defense
Yes.
of Marriage Act. You
Yes.
voted for it.
Yes.
I voted against the bankruptcy bill. You voted for it. I voted against the war in Iraq, which was
Yes.
also a tough
Yes.
vote. You voted for
Yes.
it. I voted
Yes.
against
Here we
the
go.
disastrous trade agreements like NAFTA and
Yes.
TPR.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
You voted for it. I
Yes.
voted
He's going to say he
against
didn't vote for the
He's
war in
gonna
Iraq.
just lie about it. Yeah.
Bernie has locked down the homosexual steelworkers vote so hard right
I
now.
don't know what your position is.
Everyone attending the gay club that Homer and Bart go to.
We work hard and we play hard.
It takes courage sometimes
What's this cocksucker
to
gonna
vote
say
for the
now?
right thing.
You can argue about the past and the future.
Oh!
No, he's justified.
Number one. Number two, this man is the only one of the few Democrats I know who voted to exempt the gun industry.
Oh, there we go.
Fucking Brady Bill.
about a special
Brady Bill over
section.
here.
We
Literally
should- we
every
should
other
be able to
element,
drug
like
companies,
basic
we
building
should
blocks
be
of
able
the
to
liberal
tobacco
hell we
companies.
live in
We
now.
cannot
Over
sue
here.
the gun
Unbelievable.
manufacturers because
Goddamn
he
beyond
voted
everything,
for
Ed
that
Tom.
Years ago. He says it was a mistake now. I'm prepared to accept he says it's a mistake.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Are you prepared to say everything else is a fucking mistake that you've ever worked for over your entire
I'm
career?
the first person to go on national television in any administration and say I supported gay marriage. I supported gay marriage.
voted
now.
After
against it,
voting
though.
against it.
So, and it started a ripple
Voted
effect.
against
I'm not
it.
taking all credit for it, but I'm the first major player to say I support gay marriage.
Bernie
on
Sanders said
national
it 10
television.
years
He
ago,
was
10
he
years
had a
before
fucking
you.
gay Mecca in Burlington.
Wait,
in
wait,
the
wait.
80s.
We can argue.
He's from a state that is a lesbian.
Biden was doing gay.
Vermont is a lesbian.
Wait,
Everyone
wait, hold on.
knows
Let
this.
me.
When we're living in a really, really unsettling world, economically, from a healthcare perspective with the coronavirus, the people of America know my record, okay? For 30 years, I have stood with the working families of this country. I have taken on every special interest there is out there, and that is what I will do in the White House. That's a very different record than Joe's.
That is not a different record than mine.
Lying sack of shit.
All right? I mean, and it's manifested in this campaign when you're getting all this money from.
How is Bernie Sanders? Well
wealthy
before Bernie
people
Sanders
and
was Bernie Sanders.
Billionaires. So I think if you want somebody who will take to the White House what I've done for my whole life,
Thank you, Senator Sanders.
and that is take on special interest, I think I'm that candidate.
Average campaign
Let's-
contribution $44.
Let's talk about the future, Vice President Biden. If you become the Democratic
Let's
presidential
not, yeah,
nominee,
yo, let's not talk
how
about the
will
past.
you
Yeah, that's just
appeal
I'm
over.
not here to talk about
Senator
past.
Yeah.
Sanders when you do disagree on so many issues?
He's making it hard for me right now. I was trying to give him credit for some things. and
Yep.
Oh,
Jesus
is he?
Christ.
No, I told
You
He's getting mad.
piece of
He's getting
shit.
mad.
I gotta say,
I'm
I mean,
clear.
I'm not really an
Bernie's a
objective observer,
nominee.
but he
I
seems
will not
really
only support
like he's
him,
a
I will
liar
campaign for him.
and
I
genuinely
believe the
erratic.
People who support me will do the same thing, because the existential threat to the United States of America is Donald Trump. It's critical.
No, it's
I would
you.
hope- You fucking
It's
created
you.
that. You
It's
led
you
the
and everything
way.
that you've
President
ever
Donald
done.
Trump.
You and Barfsack O'Crumbo are why Trump is
Because
president.
it's much bigger than either of us.
You're right. It is bigger than you, Joe.
It goes well
It's just
beyond
everything
whether
that you
or
stood
not
for
Senator
over your
Sanders
entire
and I
career in
both
public
agree
service.
Health care should be a right, not a privilege. We both agree we have to.
Oh,
give
you agree with
students
that? Do you,
we
Joe?
agree
You
we
don't
have to
agree with
deal
that.
Education and access to education. We both agree that we have a new green.
Oh, this
Deal
is all that
to
we're
deal
all
with
on the same
We're all on the
side,
same-
shit.
you know
We're all
what?
on the same side.
That's
If I
retreat.
lie about
That's a
everything
retreat,
I've ever
though.
said in the
when
past-
they say
But we
actually we
don't
agree, it
disagree
means
on
that he
the
knows that
principle.
Bernie's winning.
We
That's what that
fundamentally
is.
disagree
Well, we'll
with
see what
this
Bernie says to
president
this when he's
on
just like,
everything.
hey, everything's
This
fine,
is a
don't worry
man
about
who
it.
wants to cut Social Security, cut Medicare. Not
You wanna
Trump,
do all
not
those things
Bernie,
too.
The president of the
You
United
will have
States.
on the record.
So this is much bigger than whether or not I'm the nominee or
This
Bernie's
is
the
much
nominee.
bigger than anything
We
I've said or
must
done in my
defeat
career.
Donald
This is
Trump.
loser talk. This
Yeah.
is loser
Yes,
talk.
4 more years of Donald Trump will fundamentally change the
Well,
nation.
funnily, it
Who
will
we are as a
funnily
nation.
change
Really
America.
fun.
That's
For
true.
this country's
It
soul.
will be funny.
That's
He is correct
essential.
about that.
And as long as this president is there, we're not going to be able to do that.
Senator Sanders, if
Can I just say a word, then I'll respond?
Please.
well, it's just a quick
No,
question.
fuck
No, no, fuck you, Jake Capper.
Scott,
Fuck
no,
you.
what are you doing,
Piece of
Bernie?
shit.
You've already said you would support him, but will you campaign for him? Will you urge
So
this?
the
No,
campaign-
no, no, don't answer this
Bernie,
question.
the campaign's
Don't
over
answer
now.
this question.
No.
What I said is this country
I don't
cannot
care about anything. I have to pee.
deal with a president who is a pathological liar, who is running a corrupt administration, who obviously doesn't know the Constitution of the United States, who believes it's above the law, who is a racist and a sexist and a homophobe. He is the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country. And what I said on day one. Then obviously I hope to win the nomination. But if I don't win the nomination, and I think every other Democratic
He needs to call up
candidate
Biden for
is
electing
prepared to
Trump.
come
He'll
together
never do that. He will
No,
never do that.
no.
humanly
Yeah.
possible.
Hey,
to
how about
defeat
you fucking ask Joe
Donald Trump.
Biden if he'll support Bernie if he's the
Yeah.
Yes, how about
Exactly.
that?
How about that fucking question?
No, but Bernie would never do that because he believes in
And
party
all of these
unity, and that'll
things
be a
in
fatal
general
flaw.
terms, but details make a difference. What I have said throughout this campaign, and I don't think I've heard you say this yet, Joe, is that if we are going to save this planet for our kids and future generations, we need to have the courage to take on the greed of the fossil fuel industry and make it clear to them that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. And we have a very detailed proposal. Happy to get the endorsement.
He
of
should
the
have said,
Sunrise
"Will
Movement,
Joe
the
support me
Oregon
when
Corporation."
I'm the nominee?"
Green New Deal.
He should have done that.
Change, we have to squeeze in a
Major
quick
dick,
dick
Bernie.
when we come back to CNN Univision
God.
Democratic presidential debate.
Yeah.
Turn, stay with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. We'll be back after the break. We'll be back after the break.
Absorb whatever it's going to come its way.
We're always prepared.
Will vote on Tuesday.
Let's go. We're live. Okay, we're back. Here we go.
Undecided Democratic voters there.
Okay,
One is from Amy Langefeld, who is a law professor from Chandler, Arizona, with a question for Senator Sanders.
Women are the canaries in the coal mine of the conservative agenda. Our access to health care is at risk from the Federalist Society's.
Yeah, I also agree.
Warren
I
worked for.
also agree women are
By
birds.
abusive partners' access to guns. Women are disproportionately affected by bail requirements, Social Security cuts, and cuts to public education. How will your cabinet ensure the best advice on issues that affect women's physical and financial health? Thank you.
Go with Biden
My
over Clarence Thomas
cabinet,
right now.
my
Yeah.
administration will look like America. Last I heard, over half of the people in America are women, and that will be the representation in my cabinet and my administration.
There's that
And
word.
in terms of policy,
There's the word we all love.
unlike Joe,
Yes.
I have consistently believed,
his
and I have a
smile is so
100% lifetime voting record from groups like NARAL, that it is a woman's right to control her own body.
Go on the Hyde
not
Amendment.
The government. I have believed that we have got to move aggressively to deal with domestic violence in this country. I have aggressively and I think effectively made the case that we cannot have women in America earning 80 cents on the dollar compared to men, and if you're a minority woman, it's 50 or 60 cents on the dollar. We need to have universal, affordable, high-quality child care, so women who are single or married can go off to work and know that their kids are going to be well taken care of. So I think if you look at my agenda, which is on BernieSanders.com, what you will
Hello,
find
I'm
is
here
a
now.
very strong agenda.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
And
How you
fight-
doing?
Welcome, Chris.
Thank
Oh,
you.
is that some of our lovely scotch that we have?
Yes, shout out Dan Lefevre,
Dan
who
Lefevre gave
sent
us a
a
ton of
whole
scotch.
bunch of like 12
Hi,
and
Dan.
14-year-old whiskey
Beautiful
and
stuff.
scotch.
Which one's that one?
I don't know the Robert Burns.
Robbie Burns.
Premise of Amy's.
Anyway, I think that
Number
the
one,
tech
I
is
committed
basically
to
set
the
up, so I'm
final
Okay.
sitting in now. My mic might be a little
appoint someone to the
low,
courts
but
who
you
will
know,
I'll appoint the first black
I
woman
guess
to the court.
let me
Oh,
know.
you see-
Required that they have
Wait,
representation
will it be
now.
Anita Hill?
It's long
Wait,
overdue.
so
Second,
Yeah.
if I'm elected president, my cabinet, my administration will look like the country. And I commit that I will. In
Bernie
fact,
just said that.
appoint I'll pick
It will
a
look like the
woman to
country.
be vice
Fat as
president.
shit.
There are a number.
Everyone
of
will have a
women who
BMI
will be
over
president
35.
tomorrow. I would
I
pick a
promise
woman
that
to be
because
vice
I will
president.
appoint the
apparently my
person more
mic's
pretty obese
loud. I'll turn
I'm
it
the
down
guy
for
that
it.
wrote the domestic violence law, and I'm the guy that put in the prohibitions that no one who abuses someone else should be able to own a gun. Period. They should not be able to own a gun. I would get the boyfriend exception amended now.
The
I've gotten
boyfriend
past that.
exception?
If
Yeah,
you're
that's a
not
thing or
stay
something.
away from the
It's like
court,
you're
you
technically
have a
not you're
child
not
with
married or
someone,
something.
you cannot
Joe
own a
Biden's
gun.
gonna end bad
No one should be
boyfriends.
able to own a gun who has abused a woman.
Please don't. I
Period.
want one.
Mr. President, if I could just follow up. Just to be clear, you just committed here tonight that your running mate, if you get the nomination, will be a woman?
Yes.
Wow.
Senator Sanders, will you
Right
make
now,
that
may
same
I
commitment?
just respond and
Please.
ask Joe a question? Right now, a woman's right to control her own body is under massive assault, unprecedented assault.
It is.
Joe, you have in the
we go.
past,
Here we go.
Okay.
Hyde
on
Amendment.
more than one occasion,
Hyde
voted for the
Amendment.
Hyde Amendment.
Hyde Amendment.
It
Yes.
says that a woman, low-income woman, could not use Medicaid funding for an abortion. Is that still your view, or have you modified it?
Yes.
It's not my view. It's not my view. And by the way, everybody who's been in the Congress voted for the Hyde Amendment.
I love that. It's like, hey, man, we do it all the time.
Locked in other bills. The reason why
It was
I
the 80s,
affirmatively
man.
came out
We were
opposed
on
to the
coke.
Hyde Amendment was that if
We were
you're
doing
gonna
fun
have
stuff like
public
denying
We were
abortion.
fucking vibing.
along the line, there is no way you could allow for there to be a requirement that you have Hyde Amendment, a woman who
Why'd you
doesn't
vote
have
for
the
it?
money could not.
Yeah, why'd you
have
vote So
why'd you vote for
coverage
it?
under health care?
Why'd you vote
I'm
for it then?
glad.
Number two, and I've done that. I did that. a while
Interrupt
ago,
him.
Okay.
I did that a while
Number
ago.
two, I
Yeah,
would
now-
stand
yeah, why are you bringing up old
to the
shit?
desk of the United States Congress when I'm elected president, if I'm elected president, a codification of Roe v. Wade amended by Casey, because I think it is a woman's right to choose. I think it's a woman's opportunity to be able to make that decision. And
It's a
in
woman's
fact,
opportunity.
I've got 100% rating from NARAL as well.
Senator Sanders, before we move on.
Well, what
I
about
just
that
wanna
vice
make sure
president?
this-
Are you going to say that vice president?
100% voting record from NARAL?
I know my record of late from NARAL.
Of late,
For the last year.
Well, all right. I mean, I think one of the
boy.
differences, not to
Look, since
pick
I
a bone,
left the Senate, my voting record has been
Yeah.
I've always believed in that, and you have not. I'm glad you have changed your views.
Senator, just to be clear, the vice president committed to picking a woman?
This is the
God.
This is the important question.
In all likelihood, I will. For me, it's not just nominating or a woman. It is making sure that we have a progressive women, and there are progressive women out there. So my very strong tendency is to move in that direction.
There are three progressive women.
Vice President Biden, you recently said for the first time that the Obama-Biden administration made a big mistake in deporting millions.
Okay.
Okay.
Finally, a question that fucking nailed his ass to the wall.
Speak out against it at the time. What commitment will you make tonight that as president you won't deport millions?
I mean, like this whole.
They're all
fucking
giving him
debate-
the benefit of like, look, we understand your record, but now we understand you're going to be different in the future.
Bad about deporting
Yeah.
3 million
Because
people?
after all, it costs so much to make promises during an election.
Yeah.
Like that, nobody ever has made a false and like empty promise during an election campaign. What really matters isn't what he's done his whole career; it's what he's doing. It's saying now when there's nobody to hold him to it after he gets in.
Disregard the last 45 years of your political life.
Jesus
What
fucking
is
Christ!
what is your now that you're 77 years old? What does the future hold for Biden?
The grave.
Access to citizenship
The
for
cold
11
comforts
million
of an
undocumented
empty
folks,
grave
number one.
for Joe
Number
Biden.
two,
This
the
whole
first 100
debate is
days
just
of
like,
Biden's
yo,
administration,
we
no
off
one-
that. We
no
talking.
one-
We were
Yeah,
building.
we're
Yeah,
off
we're
that.
building the
We're done
future.
with it.
Why are you bringing up old shit?
That bankruptcy bill shit.
Why are you bringing
I'm
up
done
old
with it.
shit?
are
He's
commissions
changed.
of
He's a new
felonies
man.
in the United States of America.
So to be clear, only felons get deported and everyone else has to
Period.
stay.
Yes. Yes, and the reason
Senator
is it's about uniting families. It's about making sure that we can both be a nation of immigrants as well as a nation that is decent.
Let me respond. I'll answer your question. Let me respond to Joe's comments about 2007 immigration bill. That bill was opposed by LULAC, the largest Latino organization in America. The Southern Poverty Law Center called its guest worker programs akin to slavery. There wasn't really a vote on the bill. It was killed because there was a vote on the Dorgan Amendment. I think it was 49-48. You know who voted with me on that one, Joe? Barack Obama.
Boom.
He understood that that proposal
Your best
was
friend.
a bad idea. We don't need slavery in America where workers, guest workers.
I disagree.
are forced to stay within the place. But in terms
Fred
of
to your
immigration
Shaggy.
in general, let me outline some of the things that we do. Day one, we
No,
restored
he's
the legal
Scooby-Doo.
status of
He's not
1.8
even
million
Shaggy.
young people and their parents in the DACA program. Number two, immediately.
Bernie
we
is
end
Velma
these
because
ICE
he's
raids,
low-key sexy.
Which are terrorizing
Yeah.
communities
He's
all
hot.
over this
He
country.
is hot.
Three, we changed the border policy under my administration. No federal agent will ever grab little babies from the arms of their mothers. And fourth, I think we can pass what the American
only grab
people
big
want,
babies.
and that is comprehensive
Abnormally
immigration
large
reform,
babies.
passports,
We're going to have
Your
we're going to
Virgil's
grab
Texases.
we're going to
Senator,
grab
here
rapper
suggest
Da Baby.
Positions like this
Who I know
send
of
a
because he was on
message that
SNL.
when a Democrat is in the White House, the border is open. Do they?
No, that's just, I mean, that's what Trump says, and that is a total lie. What we're talking about is a humane, sensible policy supported by the American people. Nobody is talking about open borders, and of course, Trump lies about that. But the bottom line is, right now, you have in this country people who have been here for decades. They're working hard. They're raising their kids. They're an important part of our agricultural economy, our construction economy. These are good people, and yet they're living in terror. And we have got to end that terror and end the ICE raids and move toward a path toward citizenship.
Let me set the record straight, as someone has said. You know, the idea that it was slavery, Barack Obama supported that.
He just
bill.
said he voted against it.
No.
Just he's in cloud cuckoo land. He's just living in a
I
like
support it. I doubt whether
Unbelievable.
those people think it's slavery.
Well,
and by the way, right after his vote against that, he went on the Lou Dobbs show. And
Oh,
committed
Lou
to
Dobbs.
Canard that they're taking jobs. These immigrants are taking jobs from Americans, which is one of the Republican canards. Right after that vote, that no vote. And so, come on. This is, you think Ted Kennedy is for slavery?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
What do you think
Absolutely.
Mary Jo Kopechne was?
Your question relative to whether or not I would deal with supporting the border. Look, we can deal with
Oh, God.
national.
All right, no, like the more time goes on, the harder it gets for Joe.
It does
to
get
lose
harder
it.
for him.
He was the best at the very beginning, and he's cracking right
Powering
now.
down.
Surge to the border. I would
A surge. There, he said the surge to the border.
God.
That's the fifth or sixth time he said the word surge tonight.
and in a desperate situation. They should be able to come to the United States and have a judgment made as whether or not they qualify. I would also surge to the border.
Okay, that's 7. That's 7.
Make decisions immediately.
Everybody
And
heard about the surge.
Surge. Surge is a word. Surge. Surge is a word.
Hundreds of administrative judges. We need to deal with people who are seeking asylum based on international law. We need not to be dividing children from their parents and dividing families up. We need a humane border policy. And I'll tell you what else we need, and I speak as the son of an immigrant. My father came to this country from Poland at the age of 17. That a nickel in his
Tragically,
pocket, couldn't speak
never
English,
had any
didn't
lights
have,
in our house. Never knew how
much in
to
education.
change any of the light bulbs.
I will end on the demonization, ugly
On
demonization
a submarine
from the White
with
House.
too many screen
of
doors.
the
Too many screen doors.
Immigrant community in this country. We've got a president who is trying to divide us up. My administration brings our people together, black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Vice President Biden, you opposed sanctuary cities as a presidential candidate in 2007.
There we go.
Okay.
Where do you stand now? Should undocumented immigrants arrested by local police be turned over to
It's
immigration?
amazing. Every one of these is like, yeah, my entire career I said this thing, but now when I'm trying to be
Senator Sanders?
Of course not. Look, and one of the
I thought
things
Biden glitched.
that goes
I thought
on
he just like
Biden's clipping.
have that
Biden is clipping.
Biden is clipping
is
through the
that
floor.
Not only the psychological terror, and I've talked to these kids. Kids are scared to death in America when they come home from school that their mom or dad may not be there, may be deported. What we need to do is to end, and I will end this on day one, the ICE raids that have been so harmful to so many people. And we need to do, again, what the American people want us to do. I'm the son of an immigrant. This is a country significantly built by immigrant labor, built by slave labor. And what we have got to do is appreciate each other and end this demonization and divisiveness coming from the Trump administration.
Senator Sanders, please.
Go ahead.
Look, we are a nation of immigrants. Our future rests upon the Latino community being fully integrated.
Oh,
20
Oh,
million
God.
You
What a
bitch.
fucking
school today, from
scumbag.
kindergarten through high school is a Latino. Right now, today. The idea that any American thinks it doesn't pay for us to significantly invest in their future.
Well,
is-
not me
is
10 years ago.
absolutely a
No.
bizarre
Me now.
Me literally
because
right
if you
now
do
while I
not
need your vote.
This whole debate is between
What do you
very
fucking
wealthy are
rubes
concerned
think
about
is going to
and
happen the
xenophobes are
second he
concerned
doesn't
about.
need
This
you
whole
anymore?
debate is between Joe Biden and the time
We should
machine.
be
Yes.
embracing it and bringing them
It's
in.
between Joe Biden and the flux capacitor.
As much as I love Bernie, you could
We've been through this
replace
before.
the side of the screen that is
Xenophobia
Bernie
a
with
disease.
just clips of
Thank
Joe
you, Vice
Biden
President Biden.
7 years ago,
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Look, we
and it
all
would be more
know
effective.
that the
World Health
best
Organization
predictor
calls
of
the climate
past
crisis a,
behavior
quote,
is what you're
health
saying when you're
crisis,
trying to get
and
elected
warns that
president.
climate change
Everyone
can
knows
fuel the
this.
spread of infectious diseases. Can you point to specific measures in your climate plan that address that threat?
Well, of course.
Medicare for all.
Look, this is what the
can we get the door?
scientists are telling us, the same scientists who make your point there, Jake. What they're telling us is if we don't get our act together in the next 7 or 8 years, there will be irreversible damage done to this planet. We're talking about cities in America, from Miami to New Orleans to Charleston, South Carolina, being underwater. We are talking about severe droughts, which will prevent farmers in the Midwest from growing the food that we need. We're talking about extreme weather disturbances, which hit Houston, Texas, Venice, Italy, just a few months ago. We are talking about the absolute need, and I want to hear Joe's position on this. This is not a middle of the ground thing. This is not building a few more solar panels or a few more wind turbines. What this is about is transforming our energy system as quickly as we humanly can away from fossil fuel. It is insane that we continue to have fracking in America. It is absurd that we
Isn't
give
Joe Biden a
tens of
huge
billions
recipient of
dollars a year.
fracking donor?
Of course,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
wants to keep
from
fracking
subsidies
illegal
to the
and
fossil
wants to
fuel
frack the
industry.
shit out of
This
everything.
has got to end, and end now if we love our kids and future generations.
Vice President
Joe
Biden.
Biden, do you love your
First thing
kids?
that President Obama and I were summoned to the
The ones that are still around.
The Defense Department for was to meet with all the chiefs. The single greatest threat to our national security, they said, is climate change. Single greatest threat to our national security. Because as populations have to move,
he's going to do a troop surge against climate change.
Because their islands are sinking, because you saw what happened.
Which is going to unload on those
the change in
tsunamis.
weather patterns and the desert are there. It causes war. It causes great migrations. Great migrations. They said that's the single biggest problem. Number two, there's an awful lot of people today who are in fact getting ill because of the changes in the environment, particularly up where Bernie lives. It has nothing to do with him, but up in the Northeast.
What?
Because
He's so strange. What is he talking about?
Being from Vermont?
You know, he's responsible for climate change in Vermont.
In addition to eliminating foliage.
So, Vice President,
Eliminating
let me ask you
foliage?
then,
What the fuck?
you talk
What
about
the
the
fuck is he
autos
talking
in Vermont
about?
Are not as good as they used to
the
be.
Pentagon. The price tag for your climate plan is about $1.7 trillion. That's about $14 trillion less. Than
Or
Senator
about
Sanders wants to spend
$0.2 trillion
on this. Is
more
your
than they
plan
just
ambitious
injected
enough
into
to
Yeah.
tackle this crisis?
economy
Yes, it is
for a
ambitious
20-minute
enough
bump
to
in the
tackle
stock market?
The crisis, because what
Wait, no, they're
Bernie
saying it's
Bill lays
14.
out
Yeah,
on
it's
the
Bernie's plan.
The first 13 things I would do immediately upon being elected.
Name all
Number
13
one,
things.
I'm going to
we're
give you
gonna
13
once again
reasons why.
Everything from the CAFE standards, how far automobiles can go, investing in
Shaking his
light
head.
rail so that we take
Get
cars
him,
off
Speak
the
on
road.
it. Speak on it,
Get
Bernie.
him, Bernie.
Speak on it, Bernie.
Where we are now
The
in a
answer is,
position that
what's it
we
going to
put
cost not to
500
spend
Yeah.
this money?
charging
How many
stations
trillions of
in
dollars
areas
is it going to
that,
cost
in fact,
not to
all
do
the
this
high-
over
how
the
many
next 20
institutions
years?
will just
making
destroy
sure
the
that
process of
we
our
spend
healthcare
$500
system?
billion a year in the federal government paying for transportation, the vehicles we run.
Oh, wait, we got
our
cable's
signal's
clipping
glitched.
out.
There we go.
Carbon fuel and or be able to
How many
run
vehicles
on
is the
no
federal
carbon
government
fuel at all
run?
by having them.
I guess every vehicle-
move
Every army
Yeah.
tank and jeep.
all-
We're clipping.
all
Fuck.
He's clipping
carbon
again.
free. We
No.
No, I think-
CNN is
I-
clipping.
I think this is just
by the
Biden
next
speaking.
Biden is
one beyond
causing
that.
CNN
In
to
addition to that, we also have to, I would immediately rejoin the Paris Climate Accord, which I helped put together.
That's the only thing that matters.
That's the only. That's
That's
a
the
really
only thing that
important
matters.
issue. That's a really
to the
important
United
issue.
States in the first 100 days to up the ante and make it clear that in fact if they didn't, there'd be a price to pay. And lastly, I would be right now organizing the hemisphere and the world to provide $20 billion for the Amazon, for Brazil, no longer to burn the Amazon. So
We're gonna
they can
bribe
have
Bolsonaro.
forests, no longer
I mean, the
forests,
thing
but
is,
they can have
unless you
forests.
want to
Bernie
invade
So
Brazil, I
this
don't
is
know
what
how
we're
the
gonna
fuck
do.
else you get them to
They
stop doing
absorb
that,
more
other than
carbon
bribe
in
them.
the Amazon
It's
and
literally
the regions burning
impossible
now
to like
than
work
we
your way
emit
through what
in
he is saying.
one
It's so
entire year
meandering,
per
just like
year.
Thank you,
backbending.
Mr. Vice President. Senator Sanders?
All well and good, but nowhere near enough.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned we started this debate talking about a warlike situation in terms of the coronavirus. And we said we have to act accordingly. You said
Yeah.
it. I think you're right. I said it. We have to act dramatically, boldly, if we're going to save lives in this country and around the world. I look at climate change in exactly the same way. It's not a question of
Okay.
re-entering the Paris Accord. That's fine. Who cares?
Yes, thank you, thank you.
And
Yes, good.
Do
Okay.
we have the courage? And this gets back to the point I'm trying to make all night long. Do we take on the healthcare industry and tell them their profits are not more important than healthcare for all? Do we take on the fossil fuel industry? Look, in terms of the fossil fuel industry, these guys have been lying. They've been lying for years, like the tobacco industry lied
Good
50
point.
years ago.
Yep.
Oh, we don't
point.
know if,
They did that shit.
if fossil fuels, if oil and carbon emissions are causing climate change. They knew. ExxonMobil knew. They lied.
Okay,
In
Biden
fact,
is, like, really
I think they
losing
should be held
steam. Look at
criminally
him.
accountable.
like he's
But
going to
this
sleep.
is an issue of enormous consequence. What Joe was saying goes nowhere near enough. It's not a question of money. Give me a minute here. We have time to talk about this. This is a world-shaking event.
I understand. I just want to give him a chance to respond, and then we can come
Come
on.
on,
Let's
let's
stay
stay
on- we're staying on this issue.
Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry. No more
No,
drilling.
sure,
No
sure,
more
sure,
including
No, sure,
offshore.
sure.
No ability for the
I swear.
oil to continue to drill. Number two, we're in a situation as well.
So
where
glad
we
I ordered.
cannot-
Gonna get new ones.
We are able to move
Dude,
rapidly.
there are
directly
there
in
are
the trash.
side effects to
In terms of
jokerification
what
that
we
I'm
can do
not
to
able
solve
to
those
not
issues.
anticipate.
The fact that he
Or
says
doing
that
it.
add-on
climate
effects
change,
of a complete
Paris-
knock-on effects of
We can
jokerification
get
are
everything
unpredictable.
exactly right. We're 15% of the problem. 85% of the problem is over there. We need someone who can deal internationally.
We need a surge into every country in the world.
Invade every country until they stop doing fossil fuels.
In fact, if you violate the commitment you make, you will pay an economic price for it, like what's happening in China. They're exporting coal, significant coal.
Thank you. Look, obviously,
Significant coal is the name of
but it doesn't
my
go
new
anywhere. If you're
Brooklyn
laughing, Joe,
DIY
then you're
band.
missing the point. This is an existential crisis.
Bingo.
You talk about, I'm talking about stopping fracking as soon as we possibly can.
Fight.
I'm talking
Just
about
Biden's posting
the
up.
industry that they are going to stop destroying this planet. No ifs, buts, and maybes about it. I'm talking about speaking to
Get
China.
him, get him,
No,
get
you're
him,
lying.
Get him.
Proposal does that. I'm talking about speaking to China, to Russia, to countries all over the world. And in this moment, making the point that instead of spending 1.8 trillion on weapons of destruction designed to kill each other, maybe we should pool our resources and fight our common enemy, which is climate change. I know your heart is in the right place, but this requires
it's not at all, but
dramatic,
whatever.
bold action. We've got to take on the fossil fuel industry. Your plan does not do that.
My plan takes on the fossil fuel industry and
He cannot say fossil fuels.
What's he going to do? He's going to bring these countries together, make it clear to them. I'm saying we bring them together, make them live up to the commitments. If they don't live up to the commitments, they pay.
Joe
a
Biden's going to
financial
make
price for
every
it.
country
They
come
pay
to
an
America
economic
and
price
do
for it.
push-ups. And the
Because
country that does the
we
most
can do
push-ups.
everything.
I just
My
want to
country
read this
pays
fast.
3
This
feet
tweet
above
from
sea
Joy
level.
Ann Reid.
I don't need a
Does
lecture on
anybody
what's gonna
honestly
happen
care at
about
this stage how
rising
these two
seas?
lifelong
I know what
politicians
happens.
voted
I watched the whole
30-20?
double-
Yes, yes, that's the whole fuck you. God.
Or even 5 years ago. That was the end
Or
of the
even
Even
five.
5.
Noted homophobe
No,
Joy Reid.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, well, the whole point is, like you've been saying, Matt, it's like, what is more credible? A lifetime of of your political record and what you voted for and stood for over your lifetime of public service, or what you're willing to say now to get elected president?
I mean, none of us have any kind of native understanding that people lie to become president. That'd be absurd.
No, of course.
Countries around the world
Everything you
fulfill
say
their
on the campaign
commitments.
trail is a
Those
literal
commitments are not enough. What this moment is about, Joe, is that the scientists are telling us they underestimated the severity of the crisis. They were wrong. The problem is more severe. So all that I'm saying right here is that we are fighting for the future of this planet, for the well-being of our kids and future generations. You cannot continue, as I understand Joe believes, to continue fracking. Correct me if I'm wrong. What we need to do right now
Say he
is
takes
bring
money
the
from
world
fracking
together,
concerns.
tell the fossil fuel industry that we are going to move aggressively to wind, solar, sustainable
Thank you.
energies, and energy efficiency.
Thank you, Senator.
No new fracking. And by the way,
No new
on the Recovery
fracking.
Act,
Lying?
I was
Lying,
able to make
just
sure we
lying.
Read my
invested
lips.
$90
No new
billion
fracking. Yep.
in making sure we brought down the price of solar and wind that is lower than the price of coal. That's why not another new coal plant will be built. I did that while you were watching. Number one. Number two, we're in a situation where we, in fact, have the ability to lay down the tracks where no one can change the dynamic. And that's why we should be talking about things like I've been talking about for years. High-speed rail, taking millions of automobiles.
There's no money
off
for
the
rail
road,
in his fucking
making sure that we
transportation,
move in a direction
plan
where
at all.
no more drilling on federal lands, making sure that we invest in changing the entire fleet of the United States military to.
Thank you.
The moderators are saving him when he's like he's powering down. Yeah, they're saving him.
Natural gas and away from coal.
Thank you for the
has
beautiful
resulted-
words, Joe. We'll move on.
So how can the U.S. transition to your targeted goal of zero emissions with fracking completely out of the picture?
Because we have to invest in an unprecedented way. In an unprecedented way. You started off by saying that we're talking about a $13-14 trillion investment. That is a lot of money. And I've been criticized for that. But I don't know what the alternative is if we are playing for the future of this planet. So we got to be dramatic. And what being dramatic is massive investments in wind, in solar, under the green.
A massive investment in wind would be letting Joe Biden keep talking. Am I right, folks? Am I right?
Woo!
That Chapo wit.
And around
Yeah.
the country got a lot of old buildings. We can put millions and millions of people to work making
I mean, I'm
our
sorry. That quote by
buildings,
Joy Reid is just
energy
so
efficient,
nauseating.
Even 5 years
our
Even 5
transportation
years ago.
system.
Who
Why
cares?
speak about anything
Who
that
cares
happened
about
before
what
the very
any
moment you
politician
live
said
in?
in the past?
is
What it's
a
important is what
massive-
they're saying right now.
It's
The
not
way-
even what
the way
they
to live
said.
your
It's what
life-
they did in the past.
The way to live your life
Green
is
New
like
Deal
Guy
about.
Pearson
I
memento.
support
Just
it.
being constantly surprised.
Imagine
in
if
every
Bernie
moment
did
by what
anything
happened.
Biden
Hug
just
yourself
did.
with tattoos.
Constantly be clear.
Which
your
Biden
path.
is going to have to do soon
Just
enough to
no-
remember
no
anything that's going on.
Imagine if Bernie Sanders had voted against gay marriage and
Yeah.
for the
Oh,
Hyde
we're going to
Amendment
break.
as many times as fucking Joe
let's take a break.
Biden
Let's
has.
take a break.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, thank God, more Jumanji. Did you
Univision's Ilya Calderon.
Thank you, Jake.
Catherine, wild
Let's
out. I
move now
insist.
to foreign policy.
Okay.
You're ready to. You're ready
There
to
are
go
about
buck.
Catherine, do you have a mic?
1.5 million Cuban Americans
Okay.
living
Hi.
in Florida.
Hello,
Are we on?
Catherine
Yes.
Krieger joining
Catherine
us.
Krieger in the house.
Catherine Krieger in the house.
I've been drinking every time Biden says
dictator who
surge, so
jailed,
I'm pretty
tortured,
in
and
it
killed
now.
thousands of Cubans.
I have opposed authoritarianism.
Whose is this?
whether it's in
Oh, they're
Cuba,
talking
Oh, they're talking about
Castro.
Cuba. They're talking about Fidel.
Who am I giving
That's
Corona
Ben's.
to?
China, or whether it
It's
is
CBD.
in Russia. That is my life.
Yeah.
rest.
Good? Does it
That's
work?
the-
Believe
not
No, it
and
doesn't
like
do
the
anything.
This is
President of
a
the
I mean, I still do it, but it doesn't do
spawn
anything.
for
democracy,
CBD
not
vapes now.
authoritarianism.
Would
In
Cuban
Cuba,
Americans in
what
Florida
you
vote
give
for
a shit.
Sanders when he
Fuck you,
praised?
Gusano scumbags.
What
You're
I
lucky you're
believe
not
right
fucking
now
in a
in
ditch
this world-
somewhere.
I'm
I-
just
no,
glad
no.
we're not getting any Venezuelan.
I'm sorry, like no, that's
before.
coming.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
Even without Jorge on?
Yeah, no,
But
they're
she's
gonna.
doing the job.
In
Yeah.
Russia is leading.
Bernie should have asked the
That's what
question.
Would Cuban
MBS
Americans in
You,
Florida?
okay, you're saying, oh,
No.
I've praised
As
Fidel
President
Castro in
of
the
the
past.
United States,
What country
unlike
would you
Donald
rather be
Trump,
alive
I
in right
put
now
the
during this
flag
pandemic,
down.
Cuba or America?
There you go.
That's
a very good point.
We have got to move toward
very good.
democracy.
Ooh, actually, can I get some of that? Is there another little
That
little
is-
cup? Okay,
That-
thank
My
you.
love
that
is
and I
like
have
a
switched-
red.
Also
We've
enjoy
switched
it.
to
Senator
14-year
Cuba
scotch.
has
We're gonna
been
do that
a
eventually.
state
Yeah, yeah.
for decades.
This
Shouldn't
is the
we
Robbie
judge
Burns
dictators
edition right
by
here.
the violation
My love
She's-
is
she's
like
following
a
up.
not
She's
red
following
their
up.
horse.
alleged achievements.
Shouldn't we judge?
Well, I think
You gotta
can
admit
make
though,
the same point
those
about
Univision
China.
bitches,
Yeah, I wanna
they're
hear
so
China
hot.
is
Let's talk about who
undoubtedly an
tongue kisses the
authoritarian
Saudi royal
society.
family every time.
Their
they meet them.
alleged
But would
achievements.
How about the
anybody
people who reach
deny,
around
any
and jack
economist
off every
deny, that
disgusting
extreme
member of the
poverty
fucking
in
Saudi
China
royal
today
family every time
is
they hang
much
out?
less than what it was 40 or 50 years ago. That's a fact.
Key, right.
I mean,
I think
considering what
we
the
condemn
Cuba has done in Yemen, I think
authoritarianism,
this is a
whether
fair
it's
Viva
question.
Fidel!
Cuba,
Like the
any
horrible
place else.
devastation
But
of
to
Yemen
simply
that
say that
Castro
On the- by the hands of
Castro
Castro.
carried out.
responded-
I think
responsible
it's
for that.
important to talk about.
had a positive impact on their people
Oh, thank you.
would, I think, be incorrect.
Thank you.
Vice President Biden, you have criticized
very vanilla.
Senator Sanders for praising
I haven't tried
Castro's
it yet.
education
Oh, this is great.
system.
It's delicious.
But in 2016, President Obama said Cuba made, quote, a great
Someone in the chat
progress
said
in
they wanted you to
educating
sign their
young
copy
people,
of Jerusalem
and that its
in,
healthcare
San
system
Francisco.
is a huge achievement that they should
Okay.
be
They
congratulated
were the
for.
black dude.
How
They-
is
their
that
words,
different
not
from
mine.
what Senator
Did I
Sanders
must have
has
missed
said?
them.
You
I would have
must have
signed it.
Apologies from Will to
I'm glad they enjoyed the
Yours
book.
like
That is
fevers.
to change the policy so that we can.
I'm glad they
impact
enjoyed the
on-
book. It's a great
impact
novel.
on Cuba's policy by getting them opened up. That was about. But the praising of the Sandinistas, the praising of Cuba, the praising
of the Sandinistas.
Sandinistas.
Yeah, you know that
the
one
Sandinistas.
big country in Latin America that isn't a complete basket case and doesn't send thousands of people who've been traumatized by gang warfare to the United States at the border every year because they weren't destroyed by fucking dictatorships that we supported in the
Wait, here we go.
in prison camps in the West.
Yeah.
You see what's happening in Hong Kong today.
Yeah.
And by the way, the idea that he praised the Soviet Union when it was the Soviet Union about the things that they had done well. They're an awful
did do things
dictatorship
well.
killing millions
They
of
did do a
people.
lot.
Credit where it's due.
In addition to that,
Yeah, they defeated Hitler. Can we praise him for that?
after
You
the
do, in
election
fact,
was
have
all
to give it to
over,
them.
Yeah.
what,
You know, Stalin
done
was a
by-
land of
by-
contrast.
by the Russians now in interfering with our elections. This man.
Oh my God!
You dumb shit.
Oh my God!
I don't
I
get it.
despise this.
Well, what you don't get, and this is exactly what the problem with politics is
delicious.
about.
Yeah, right?
All right,
That is a
question.
delight.
Who sent
Here we go. Wait.
China make progress in ending extreme poverty over the last 50 years? Yes or no?
That's like
He's about to
saying
go
Jack
beast
the
mode.
Dan
Ripper-
Lefevre and heavy cough.
Yes, this is the problem.
Yes, it is.
This is the problem. We
Kill
can't
him.
talk.
Get him.
Yeah, I know there's a political line. I understand. China's terrible, awful, nothing ever good. Russia, blah, blah, blah.
Bernie's going
But
full
the
Larry
fact of the
David.
matter is,
Yeah.
He is going
He's
Larry
going
David.
Joker-fied. He is.
He's
getting Joker-fied, but not at a rate
That's what I just
sufficient.
said.
No.
5
He needs to
minutes,
do.
You know?
No, he's getting.
Get more
Ben is right. He's
Joker-fied.
getting curbified,
Yeah,
not
he's-
Joker-fied.
Yeah, he doesn't. He
It's
doesn't go
a
Joker. He goes
very-
I'm
Larry.
sure he's
Was
so
more
fucking
generous
sick of
in
hearing
his
all of this
praise
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
You know,
of
like
what Cuba
Clearly.
did in
Miss me
healthcare
with
and
that shit.
education than I was. I was talking about a program 60 years ago in the first year of the Castro revolution. So the bottom line is that I think it's a little bit absurd if we're going to look at the world the way it is. Of course, we are opposed to authoritarian. And by the way, you know,
Joe, how
before-
much? How many times have you gone to bat for Israel? If you're
Yeah.
gonna talk about fucking
Saudi Arabia.
Saudis and the fucking Israelis. please.
Yeah.
The dictatorship in Saudi Arabia.
There
we go. There we go.
I was condemning the dictatorship in the UAE. You were not.
Thank you.
Yes.
Senator
Get him,
Vice
get him,
President
get him.
Biden.
Look,
Unimpeachable.
You want to do this?
But they're our
Big
friends.
men
We like
saying
those guys.
something Nice
They got oil.
about a country is one thing. The idea of praising a country that is violating human rights around
What
the
about
world.
Israel?
Oh my God.
What about
What about
Israel?
America?
How about America?
How about
America?
What's going on?
You did
What
the
do you think
Iraq
about
War, Joe.
When he praises China.
Yeah,
like
but that was like
What do
5
you
years
think?
ago.
What do you think?
Yeah, it doesn't
Australia's
matter.
Yeah,
It's
in
off the
shadow
table.
Of China.
Get
What do you
over
think's
it.
happening in Indonesia in the shadow of China? What do you think is happening?
Let's
in
talk
terms of
about what
Japan
Henry
in the shadow
Kissinger
of
did to
China?
Indonesia.
Words matter. These are
Words
Words matter, says a man who cannot put
And-
5 of them
yeah.
together without turning it into fucking gibberish.
Wait, Henry Kissinger didn't do that to Indonesia. It was the Kennedy administration. But
Is Kissinger working with Biden campaign?
I'm sure he has endorsed Biden just like he did
Probably.
Hillary
On
Clinton.
sticking
Yeah.
with foreign policy, you acknowledge that your support and vote for the Iraq War was a mistake.
Oops, one of
What
many, but
lessons
he's
did you
done with
learn
those.
from
Wait.
that mistake,
No more
and
mistakes
how
for
might
Joe
those
anymore.
lessons influence
Literally,
your foreign
you did a
policy
bad thing.
decision-making?
Well, what have you learned from your
I learned I can't take
mistakes
the
on
word
the
of the president
global
when in fact
stage?
they
no, the
assured
lesson
me
to
that
learn
they
from
did
it
not
is that
do
we should
so.
never have
Remember the
anyone who
context.
voted for it
The
in charge of
context was-
anything
Yes.
ever
Sorry, you
again.
forfeit. You forfeit.
You forfeit your right
Oh
for.
my God! Is
you
he doing like basically based on the information we had? At the
Yeah, he's
time?
doing the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
of they snookered us
Yeah.
at the UN Senate and
Also,
Colin Powell.
also, they made promises that they broke. Like
They
who
were not. And what's the
among
first thing that
us?
happened when we got elected? The President Obama.
Colin
turned
Powell, I
around
mean, he
and
comes
said,
up to you and he's like, hey, Jack, we got to go to Iraq. And I mean, what are you going to say? Look at that guy. He's clean and articulate and well-spoken. How are you going to say no to him?
Biden would say that.
And I'm prepared to compare my foreign policy credentials up against my friend here on any
One
day.
guy who's
Okay,
done-
good.
Good.
So do it. So do it right now,
Instead of lying
bitch.
about it.
One guy who's done.
Wait,
a
here we
bunch
go.
of
Here we go.
wars.
I understood. And by the way, let's be clear about what that vote was. And you were there at the signing ceremony with Bush.
Oh, he
Everybody
was.
in the world knew that when you voted for that
Finally, a good topic.
resolution, you were giving Bush the authority to go to war. And everybody knew that's exactly what he and Cheney wanted to do. Most people who followed that issue closely understood that the Bush administration was lying through its teeth with regard to Saddam having weapons of mass destruction. I understood that. I was on the floor of the House time and time again. But the issue is not just the war in Iraq. That was a long time ago. The issue is the trade agreement. It wasn't so easy for me to lead the effort against disastrous trade agreements. The issue was the bankruptcy bill that you supported.
Everything.
The issue was the Hyde Amendment. The issue is the Defense of Marriage Act. The issue is whether or not in difficult times, and God knows these are difficult times, we're going to have the courage to take on powerful special interests and do what's right
Vice
for the
President Biden.
working family.
Biden won't do that because he's a crooked
Why did you vote
fucking
not to
marionette.
sanction
I tell you,
Russians.
you know why? Because that had you keep talking about Iran. That was tied to Iran. Russia was in Iran. I think John Kerry indicated his support for what I did. That was undermining the Iranian agreement. That's why.
Not true, Ardman.
That's why. And
Well,
that's
I'm
the
just
only
gonna lie
reason.
again.
Yeah, I'm gonna lie again.
Condemn
And
Russia
not be called
time
on
after
it.
time again.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that the idea that I, in fact, supported the things that he's suggesting is not accurate.
Oh my God!
Scoreboards.
And got the inspectors.
Ass off.
Go to
That was
YouTube.com
my
and search
chief of
this.
staff with the guy
Go to the Google.
It's all right there.
Why
I
are we
was the guy that
doing
helped put
this?
together a 60
Why are we
nation
bothering with
organization
this?
to
Is that
take
an
on
existential question?
the-
No,
Because
I
I
mean,
ask
like-
myself that
Yeah, I
every
know, I'm
day.
not
Why are we having a debate?
I know
If they're
it.
gonna do
And I know
this,
what they're like.
why
they can do it.
even go
They're having
through
it so they can
the
just
ritual of
hand it
it?
to Biden.
Like, what's the point of this ritual?
Bernie's
To
notion
nominate Joe
about
Biden.
how he-
Because
But
it
just
serves
do
the
that.
establishment. It serves
Just
Joe.
no, but I'm saying cancel the debate, cancel the primaries, and just give it to them.
Because they need a veneer of credibility.
Yeah.
Why? But this is such a thin veneer. Why even bother?
Contrary to
Because I think most
I
people
mean,
don't
most
see it
people
that
won't
way.
see it that
Most
way.
people won't see it that way.
I think they're
I
getting
have
sloppy.
led the effort
Yeah.
against all forms of authoritarianism, including America's so-called allies in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia. And in fact, as you may know, worked with conservative Republicans to utilize for the very first time the War Powers Act to get the United States out of the horrific war in Yemen led by Saudi Arabia. That's what I did. So my view is that in a world moving toward authoritarianism, the United States has got to be the leader where people all over the world look to us
Thank you, Senator.
for guidance.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to change topics and ask each of you about some of your vulnerabilities in this election, starting with you, Vice
Here
President.
comes the Bernie bros. Here comes
Yeah,
Bernie.
The Hispanic vote than you in several key states so far. In fact, he doubled your support.
Come
in
on, Biden.
California
Try to
among
speak Spanish.
Hispanics. He almost
Please.
tripled it in
Just
Nevada.
try to throw off some Spanish here, for the love of God.
Donde
Pull-a-beto.
está la biblioteca?
Donde está? Come on, buddy.
Across the board. Every single state we've been in, there's been a significant turnout. In Virginia, turnout was up 70%. They voted for me. He didn't bring them out.
Up to
I brought
12
them out.
people.
And number two, look what's happened in Mississippi. Look
looks
what's
like
happened in North
shit.
Carolina. Look
Yeah,
what's
he looks
happened
really
in
very
Washington
bad.
State. Look what's happened across
Yes,
the
he
board.
does.
Like he's
Why
been sitting in
is it that I'm
vinegar.
winning
You can
all
see
those
you can
places?
see his facelift
What's the reason?
scars.
Yeah.
You know, it's
What's the
really.
reason?
It's bad.
The reason is because they know I am a Democrat with a capital D who in fact believes that
Versus
our
smooth
base
Bernie,
is
just
the
a little
base of the
Botox under the
Democratic
eyes,
Party.
you know?
Hardworking
He's
men
beautiful.
and women
He's
who in
wonderful,
fact
aging
are high school
supremely.
educated, African Americans and minorities, including Hispanics, but all
African
minorities,
Americans.
suburban women, people who in fact have
Suburban women, the
Suburban
prized
women,
minority.
yeah.
Suburban
Everyone's
women
favorite
are
minority.
Not, are not
Wealthy
monolith.
Karen
suburbs.
demographic.
winning.
That well-known
Probably
oppressed
the
minority.
single most privileged group in America.
White women extinction button. Hit it.
Follow up with you.
Catherine, I love you.
An issue that you're having
Amber.
for the second
No, but I would hit the button
consecutive
first.
presidential
Oh, I've
yeah,
already
I'm-
pressed the white
I
women
would
extinction
sacrifice
button so
the
many
white
times.
women extinction button. Just hit
Literally
it.
It would only extinct a large portion of
You'd,
humanity.
there'd be
If
a,
we would remain.
there'd be a little sliver of
I would
amber.
be, I'd be
At
fully
least
dead.
1/8
Yeah.
of me would remain.
It would be your head in a jar. Still talking.
That's the ethnic part.
Campaign of a biracial.
Maybe people would then stop
bigenerational,
accusing you of being white,
multi-generational
or of
grassroots movement
Chapo
is the
being
way
fully
to do it.
white.
Now, we have won some states. Joe has won more states than I have. But here's what we are winning. We are winning the
Tasty,
ideological
tasty
truth,
scotch.
even in states like Mississippi, where Joe won a major victory. Turns out that a pretty good majority of the folks there believe in Medicare for all. And that's true in almost every
He's
state
also got the
in this
fake like
country.
veneers
And the other
teeth,
issue that
like
we don't
so
have-
So I got
He's just like
massive
piecemeal
dental
together.
work done to adjust
Depending
my
on the state,
bite.
we're
Yeah.
winning
But
people
my
50
teeth are
years
still
of age
ground
or
down
younger.
to like I
Big
have horrible
time
chips in
people
my
30
front
years
teeth,
of age
and I think
and
like
younger.
maybe I could do
I
also like the
frankly have my
cosmetic
doubts.
veneers,
Look,
to, and then
if
I'm
I
just
lose
like,
this thing,
no, because
Joe wins,
what if
Joe,
I
I will
look
be
like
there for
Joe Biden?
I mean,
Yeah.
they're
But I
like they
have
look
my
good,
doubts.
but they look
When
so.
they look
I mean,
good,
they look
no one
good in as
knows.
much as anyone looks at you and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
veneers.
When
Yeah.
they look,
Yeah.
when they,
Energy,
I think it's one of those things like
the
plastic
largest
surgery.
voter
No
turnout
one
in
knows
history.
when it's
And to do
good.
that,
Joe Biden
when
will-
it's bad.
Yes.
young
They're
people
glaring.
like
They'll have to
Yeah.
like shield my eyes.
Well,
from
and there's
it.
like a there's a
They're
dis
too
there's
white,
a
they're way too
disconnect
white.
of like
Square?
reality.
Get
Yeah.
veneers that are like
Latinos
a color
who are
shades
great
off white.
Yeah,
Then no one
like
would know.
tooth-colored.
That's what I want.
Tooth-colored veneers.
I feel
Yeah.
like they only come in blinding
I have my
lights.
doubts.
You know,
It's
there's one
ridiculous.
shade.
Joe Biden looks like Tim and Eric at the beginning of $1 Billion movie right now.
excitement and that voter turnout.
I will do that. And by the way, just
I'll
No.
know all the stuff he said.
Energy
Even though I never
Bitch,
said
no
any of
one's
that
gonna vote
fast,
for you.
stop saying it.
I'm
Trust me.
just realizing in this side by
70%
side, like
turnout
Joe's suit
increase
clearly
in
very
Virginia.
tailored,
I can go down the
and
list.
Bernie's
Off the rack.
You know, clearly
It's
like
me.
off the
And I
rack
didn't
and dressed for
even
less.
have
from Ross
And
dressed
I
for
love
less.
that. I love that. That's
he's
good.
endearing.
He did
Yeah.
like the way he looked. It was
Chris kept saying,
guaranteed.
No,
"Why?"
yeah.
By the way, George Zimmer,
If he keeps the
CEO,
tags on, he can
this is
still
an interesting
turn it.
fact. He got kicked
The
out,
reason
like
I'm
he
doing
got
that
forced
is
out
because
as
they
CEO
understand
recently,
I
but the
know
guy
what
used to be in
has
the
to
commercials,
happen.
George Zimmer.
I know
Yeah.
what needs to be done.
Huge
George Zimmerman.
Wake and Bake's pothead and a huge activist for pot legalization.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
He's yet to know
Him and,
exactly what's going to. So here's my point.
Oh fuck!
What's-
Who's
what's
the
the
travel
point?
guy?
Steve's, Rick Steves.
Rick Steves,
And the
who's
fact is,
wonderful.
I
Also,
think
who
it's
went to Ramallah.
overwhelmingly among
Yes, he did. No,
Yeah.
he's good.
Yeah.
Rick Steves is good. The
Across
travel
the
people
board.
tend to be
No,
good.
it's
That's
weird
not
for
true.
Scandinavian.
You lost the fucking Latino vote in every fucking state.
He
by,
did.
by far.
No, he could say he didn't though, and that's fine. He'll just say, "No, I didn't lose the Latino vote." And what's going to happen? Are the
I'm
people?
getting-
Are they
I'm
going to
getting
stop him?
like-
Are they going to tell him he's wrong?
No.
He can say whatever he wants.
People
Why
get-
are we still
Yeah,
observing
no,
these
the debate
forms?
is it's commercial break
He's
right
lied
now.
through those fucking
Why don't we just keep it
whole
going? Can we
debate.
keep it going?
No, this has to be the last commercial break.
Yes,
Everyone,
it is. Yeah, I think it's only going to be 2
People in
hours.
the chat can't agree if they want the mics down or or the TV up.
The TV can't go up or they'll fucking kick us off. Apparently Minority Report got bounced because they were playing. Yes, because they were playing it too much. You can't, idiots. You cannot play the actual debate too loud or they will DCC your ass and fucking remove the stream. So turn it up on your own televisions. Morons.
Thank you. Let
Sorry,
them
but
know.
you just have to listen
Speak
to my
on it.
beautiful voice.
Speak
No,
on it, Queen.
I've heard our viewers. I have heard that our viewers are saying that I am pretty, so they are
that
good.
is true.
They are good.
Well, those ones are
no
all
one has
correct,
called me
obviously.
pretty yet,
Yeah,
so
well,
I'm
if
gonna
anything
bounce
nice about
myself
me.
off this stream.
Hey, chat.
No, no, don't debate. That's having your boyfriend say like, "Call my girlfriend pretty" has to be the most embarrassing thing.
I guess what I just
wasn't
don't
gonna
get
ask
is,
him that.
like, why are they
what
still
were you gonna
observing the
say?
I was gonna ask him
forms?
to call me pretty.
Oh, that's true.
Because,
I
like,
buy
if
that.
the
More
DNC
important.
If the DNC came out before this debate and said, we're canceling the debate and we're canceling all the primaries and we're just going to nominate Biden, what would have stopped them from doing that, realistically?
It would have been too much reliability.
In what way, though?
It would have been too clear.
In what sense? Yeah, but like, what do we say that means like it would have there would have been a response, but what have the response been, other than people complaining about it online?
Depressed voter turnout, which they're going to get regardless.
They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know.
There's no reason.
I think
Like,
I think it's to convince themselves that they have a
I
moral
guess that's
alibi
it.
and that
I
they're
guess
not
that's
rigging
it.
it.
I think these forms
They do-
exist not even to convince others anymore. It's to convince the people within it. Yeah.
They want to say, hey, you know, we're giving them this much. We're giving them
Yes.
the tiniest amount of chance, so we don't have to feel bad about fucking rigging this entire
Yeah.
thing.
I think that's the
we're
thing.
We're
It's
going
like-
based off the convention, even though we
Yeah.
fucking invented it and have like skewed it to nominate a fucking guy who has Alzheimer's
and is lying
Ugh.
about everything. I think you're right. I think it's like they're no longer trying to convince like
It's
the
themselves.
voters, their
No,
votes themselves, that they're actual Democrats, that they're
'Cause
that
half
they
of these-
really
half
have
of the
like
people
values.
who are there doing this aren't doing it intentionally. That's just their fucking job, you know.
Who's this man with Bell's palsy?
Ronald
That's
Reagan
Ronald
Jr.
Reagan's son.
Amber and Kath are pretty, but we have to simp for Will.
Thank you. Thank you.
No gay guys watch this.
No.
Is there any
No,
gay
they're
guys?
simply.
Hey, if we got any gays in the chat,
Yeah.
could you sound
Yeah.
off?
Yeah,
Hello,
can we get some
gays.
love for Ben?
Or
Hi,
just for gay
guys.
people in general?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like
gays in
let's get
general.
some pride flags in the chat. No, that's
You know what? The
that's
gays
hell.
have been a little big for their britches lately.
It's yeah.
Yeah, they need to be dressed down. Big gay.
Big gay.
Big gay.
Tired of big.
Oh, is everyone gay?
Hey, big gay, are we talking about Andrew Gillum's friends?
Booyah!
Brah, brah, brah. Oh, okay.
Look, the meth was on the floor.
Oh, Ben has
And
great
he had
hair.
to bend over.
Thank
We're
you.
getting, you do it.
Thank you so much.
Unemployment has been great for your hair.
I like gay people love being unemployed. That's literally our only talent.
And all I want is policy to, ideally no one would have to have a job, including
Yeah,
gay people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gay people first.
Yeah, gay people
Universal
to the
unemployment
front of
for
universal
I think
universal
anyone who's ever had like a
unemployment.
really gay waiter would agree with that. They're
Oh my
like,
God.
you're not.
You have any idea how mean I was when I was waiting tables?
I can
Waiting on
guess.
Kristen Gillibrand was massive bitch to her. Massive bitch.
Good.
She ordered
Good.
egg whites. Egg whites and spinach.
That's not gonna
And I
save
was
you,
like,
honey.
that's not, I was like, is
Wait,
that on
wait,
the
who
menu?
did that?
Kristen Gillibrand. I waited on her in
Of course she
Iowa.
did. Of
It's
course.
like, sorry, Kristen, we just serve what's on
How
the
are you
menu
mean to a woman who
regularly."
went to a bar, a gay bar, and said into a
Yeah.
camera, "Gay rights"?
Ugh.
I mean, damn, not very
Something
thankful.
I think about once
That's
a day.
not very appreciative
She
of
was
you, I
pretty,
gotta
like,
say.
I do like appreciate Kristen Gillibrand. Like if she was like selling me like a skincare product, I'd be on board.
Oh yeah,
When it
she's
comes
got
to,
that.
like,
She has a
politics,
glow.
one of- I
She's
mean-
got
She has
that
a
hot
glow.
mom
I
thing
think
going,
she-
but like, don't
I'll
try
say
and
it.
sell me
I
your
think she's the
politics.
hottest
like,
senator.
there's
But you know
second to
she is
anything else
a.
you could sell
You
me.
just, like,
know
go
she
be
is
in, like,
a
a
pain
Walgreens
in the ass.
commercial.
You can
Exactly.
totally
Exactly.
tell
No,
she's a pain in the
stay
ass.
in your
You could
lane.
sell me
She
products.
radiates. Could I get this like a little pinker?
Yeah.
She's
Or
just
like,
talk to your
Yeah,
manager.
the menu that
Lot
says
of
no
talk to your manager power
modifications
coming
is
off
trying
the
to
rep.
order off menu.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
All right,
that's
we're back.
Kristen Gillibrand.
We're back.
She is hot though.
Rip
Hottest senator in
Kristen.
Iowa.
Finally, gentlemen, thanks so much for everything as we end here tonight. Let's return to where we began, the coronavirus, which does not discriminate based on ideology. It does not care if one is a Democrat or a Republican.
Not true.
God.
It's killing poor people. This is fucking
Like
true.
all diseases and
What's your claim?
disasters.
Let's also say it doesn't
For those who
discriminate
are
by
concerned
class.
about
We
Yeah.
missed
affected
that
by
one.
or
It's an
dealing
aspect.
with the coronavirus.
Well, our hearts go out to everyone.
What's
We
your
need to move
concern?
aggressively to
Holy
make sure
shit.
that every
What does that
person
What does
mean?
that
in this
even
country
mean? Who gives a
who
fuck?
has the virus
What is your closing
I guess
message
the
to
dis-
Americans
the
about
disease-
coronavirus?
The disease concerns me, I would say.
that they need
I would
because
say I'm
they
concerned
are
about it.
Americans.
Shit's fucked up.
That we
Good
move
luck.
aggressively to make
I
sure
say to the American
that
people,
tests are out there,
put your head between your
that the
knees
ventilators
and
are
kiss
out there,
your ass
that
goodbye.
the ICU units are out there, that the medical personnel
Look to your
are
left, Look to your right.
What is
One
your
of you will be
closing
dead from
message to
coronavirus.
coronavirus? Just
economic.
I'm gonna look straight into the camera right now.
in
Corona.
addition to the-
We're
I'm putting
coming
you
for
on
you.
notice.
we're gonna
hunt you
drone your
down.
wedding.
We're gonna smoke you out. We're gonna smoke you out of the caves you're hiding in, Corona.
We're gonna
We're
surge
gonna
all
have
over your
boots
ass.
on the ground in Corona town.
We're gonna surge all over your
economy,
ass.
So many of our people are hurting.
I gotta say, I've never seen anyone just lie that much on a debate.
And be,
That is a first.
and be like
Never
no
once called
no
out.
pushback. If Bernie
Never
had done
seen
shit
that
like that,
before.
which our king never
I gotta
would,
say-
they would have come back and been like,
Yeah.
excuse me, here's the annotations
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
There would have been so many Bernie eat hot chip and lime
Yeah.
memes. from,
Yeah.
like,
I
And
gotta
also
say-
just like real time fact checks.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought I was jokerfied, but man, I found a new level of jokerification.
Oh
watching
no!
this. I am even more jokerfied than I thought was possible.
Yeah.
Well, you got the makeup, so.
Well, now I gotta find something else.
You're like sweating.
I guess I'm gonna have to wear like
You're like a
purple
drag
suits
queen
or
right now.
something.
You should start doing it every day now.
I mean something. All I know is I'm now even more jokerfied than I thought I could ever become. So this is interesting. This is a journey for me. We'll see how jokerfied I can get by election
Thank
day.
you, Senator Sanders. Vice President Biden, what's your closing message tonight for those concerned about
Turn the radio up. Make sure your kids hear words.
Listen, Mac.
Hear the words.
As I said at the outset,
I saw a guy named Corona. He was a Mexican fella. He came down to the malt shop. He used to make a big ruckus. What he was banging on the jukebox. And I had to say, listen here, Mac. Settle down.
have a mom, like for example,
We're all trying to enjoy a malted here, and you're getting all up in everybody's business with your spicy tamale.
She can't go in trying to do sign language to her mom and through the window.
What?
What? What is he
sign
on
language?
about?
He's talking about sign language?
Like a woman trying to
This
do it to her
gesture.
mom. To her mom at a nursing home.
It's just glossolalia at this point.
Understand is that this is an all hands on deck. This is, as someone said. maybe
No,
as you
don't
think
you
at the
don't
outset,
touch
this
things.
is-
Hands, you're
Yeah,
not
keep your hands off the deck, for the love of God.
All hands on face.
By the way, apparently you've been touching your face a lot, Will. People are concerned about you.
Oh, Will.
I'm never gonna stop.
Well, you already had it.
I'm not gonna stop.
Kind of
Everyone here,
And
like
so
we've
first
already
and
been
foremost,
contaminated.
Yeah.
We've
It's
already.
like we have it.
I mean, yeah.
A world in
most
which
people
I
like
can't
stay inside. Like, stay
A world in
I'm
which I can't
dealing
pick
with
my
it by
nose is,
washing
quite
my
frankly, one I don't want to live in.
and
So.
cutting back on smoking.
Literally,
I am in a world of Corona, Joker.
and pulling together the best people, and not just the United States,
The best of
world,
the
and say,
private sector.
What is it? What are the prescriptive moves?
Oh,
we have to
shit.
take
I
now
can't get that
to
swole.
lessen this
I can't go to the
virus,
gym that
to
much. That's
be-
not
to
happening.
go to the point
I
where
cannot
we
get
can
as
say
ripped
we
as
No one
Bane.
can go to any
Yeah,
gyms
they're
anymore
closed.
on account of fucking
Exactly.
Corona.
So I can't become
I'm gonna
Bane.
get
And
so
then what
fat
do we
from
do?
Corona.
A lot of
I'm
people are
so
watching
mad.
this.
Where am I gonna have
Economic
sex if I can't go to the
surprise
gym?
on that is, in fact, that we, in fact,
Oh,
make
so
sure
that's
every
why you've been
paycheck
looking to
is
get
met.
swole recently. Oh, very interesting.
Part of him's getting swole.
You know, he joined Barry's gym, and I was like, oh, he just wants to.
Barry's gym.
Yeah, I feel like they're
Barry's a
bankrupt.
really gay name.
Yeah,
Education.
Bruce's gym.
Yeah,
it's a
like
gay
cruiser
Lance's gym.
It's a gay gym, isn't it?
Wait, but
Although
there's one that's
Equinox,
like-
Without a doubt. Any
addition to that, we
name
have
of a
to
gym
do-
that has a
although
male
Equinox
name,
also
like,
very
in it.
gay, right?
Aren't
Yeah,
they all?
yeah.
I mean, they're all gay, right? Except for Planet Fitness.
I mean, wanting to be
That's the least
wanting
gay
to be
gym.
fit, caring about your
No,
physique is
Planet Fitness
gay.
is just like for fat losers.
That's where I had my
Which I have had a Planet Fitness.
I have had one as well.
They have
As a
pizza
fat
night.
loser, that's
It's
where I
really
go.
fun.
Yeah,
they bring pizza.
I can understand.
But what's that
decision
gym
made to
that's
All the
like
ballet, like,
specifically
classes
like
in New
the
York.
abs are all basically like very thinly veiled,
How
like
do you
yeah,
keep
cruise
open
here.
The drugstore?
Yeah.
What is
um,
their prescription?
The
they're,
gym.
like called like bathhouses.
It's called the gym.
It's good for gay people. It's called being.
And what's the way to do
There's
it?
one.
It should be a
There's one in
national
Manhattan.
standard.
I can't remember the
Should
name
be
of
coming
it. I've
out
seen
of
the
the
ads, and I'm like,
situation.
It's
okay,
called
they-
Matt Christman's apartment.
No.
Hey!
Nick
True.
Got
used to
him.
go to the
Absurd.
what's
Got his
what's
ass.
the dumb one for people who
Is
hurt
get rid of
themselves?
Donald Trump.
I wouldn't know.
Donald
I don't
Trump.
go to the
What's the
gym.
Wait,
dumb
what?
gym for people who hurt themselves and want to die early?
Wait, which gym?
You know, like
CrossFit.
CrossFit. He used to go to a place called CrossFit Outbreak.
Wait, who did? Nick?
Yes.
Outbreak?
He used to go to a place called CrossFit Outbreak.
We know,
and
yeah.
the logo of it.
Everyone gets paused up.
Yeah, the logo of it is the pause tattoo.
It is.
It
Wait,
actually,
really?
It actually
Okay.
is. And I'm like,
They're-
are you
they-
going to a
they've
butt
gotta
chaser
be
gym?
closed. Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
going to a butt
It's a little.
chaser
It's a wing. It's
When-
and then he
when-
got
when-
really. He eventually quit because they had too much women in it doing yoga.
Coronavirus pandemic continues now.
So
All
mad.
right.
at them.
Did,
Okay.
Wait,
Yeah,
did
that-
he
it's
just
over.
say the
Hold on a second.
coronavirus continues?
Hold on,
now?
hold on. Should we do like a quick round of questions?
Yeah, let's do
Oh
a few
yeah, I'll
questions.
take some
Let's do some
questions.
questions. I'm
I've got the
flying
chat
right now.
open. Should I do it?
Yeah, let's
no,
do it.
I'm here. I will
right.
moderate the chat. Open it up to questions and wait. Here we go. Look at this. Hey, here I am. Now
Rock
I'm
him
on
like
the
a
screen as
hurricane.
well. So who has
Scorpions.
questions? I'm monitoring the chat.
Scorpions,
Oh God, this is going to be so
I
difficult.
don't feel bad.
Please
We're
make
good
them
after
good
this.
questions.
Because I don't know how the hog-like idiots of America are going to
Yeah,
take
look,
any of it.
No, I don't know.
Let's see what I
I
can
have
do.
no idea.
I don't know. I would say.
Ask
Hey,
questions.
okay, all right. How do we think that this debate will do to turn the tide?
I have
against
no
it?
idea. None of
No
us have any
idea.
idea.
Moving on. Next question.
Yeah, no one knows anything.
I
No
don't
one
think
knows
anyone
anything.
I would say,
watches
look,
this.
you don't know what it has done. The one thing you can do as an individual is to call, not
Yes.
report,
Okay, good.
do everything you
Donate.
can
Yes.
to get involved with the campaign. It's very we're all half of you are fucking quarantined. Okay, you have nothing to do besides watch Netflix. Stop, turn off the TV, make calls for Bernie. There is so much
Yes.
punditry we
Calls
can
for Bernie,
do,
text for Bernie.
you know, to talk about how this debate went. Shut the fuck up. Please make a fucking
Yeah.
phone call. Okay. Jesus.
I heard
Is it
Get
like-
on the fucking Bernie dialer
Speak on
and
it.
do everything you can.
This
That's
is-
what you can
is-
do.
isn't
Don't
even a
worry
drop
about
in
what
the
this
bucket.
debate did. It's in your fucking hands. So
Speak on it.
do the fucking work, please.
Yes, exactly.
Kudos.
Ben, shut it down.
He's got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Like-
but that's true. Like we
Yeah.
materially can improve.
But
like,
we can't
move the
afford-
needle in this race
Like
together.
Bernie, like Biden people, like MSNBC libs, those are the ones who obsess themselves with this like punditry.
Right.
Right? Like what we have to do as people who support Bernie is not prognosticate in the way that these idiots
Yes.
do. Like this isn't a game for us. If we
Yes.
have real things on the fucking line, you do have to get involved. You do have to do what you can. In your, I was fired by the fucking campaign. Okay, I still make calls. All right, they fucking fired me.
And horse race politics literally only distracts you from doing the work
yeah,
that needs to be
exactly.
done. It's
Just
meant
shut,
to distract
shut the
you.
hell up and make a fucking call.
Damn right.
That's it on that question.
Speak on it.
How do we feel about Bernie's performance tonight?
All right,
Not
let
bad.
me kick this one off. Let me just kick this one off. I would say I'm going to be very quick here. Bernie did not get Joker-fied, but to borrow from Ben here, he did get Larry Davified.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
curved.
was very curbed.
Got
He
curved.
curved.
He got curbed about halfway through it.
Yes.
Did he reach the level of vitriol against Biden that I would have liked to see? No. But I am not the
No.
the intended
true.
viewer.
Look, we wanted Bernie
of
to
this
hold
debate.
up the white woman extinction button and smash it in front of a national audience. He was never going to do that.
Like I
He
said,
did-
like
he did get close.
the first like 30 minutes or so, I would have liked him come straight out of the gates throwing haymakers.
Yeah.
It took about halfway after the first commercial break, and I hope enough people stayed watching. He did start to do what I was hoping him to do.
He did.
And as soon as he got Biden rattled or angry, when Biden just had to start lying out of his face,
Which was amazing.
about his entire record in public service, that's where he needed to get him. I don't think he got quite to the level that I would have liked to hope for. But keep in mind, I am not the intended audience,
Right.
or we are, or anyone watching this stream is not the intended audience for any of this.
I've also come around to the idea that that's about as Joker-fied as Bernie can get away with, without the media being like, "Wow, basically he went too hard." So
think-
I'm willing to let him.
I think what we saw.
I would
and we-
always like to see him go harder, but I think that's about what he's allowed to get away with.
I think what we've seen here, and we've seen it before, but this is the first time we've seen it in a head-to-head, is that Bernie really does, his first instinct is to try to advance an ideological agenda, not to specifically like run a race against an opponent.
Also,
Like
a hard,
that
hard
is his
habit to
top-
break if your entire career has been a realignment project.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, he's been like on the outside, like yammering his entire time. This is like literally the first time he's ever been in a position to actually claim power. And I think his instinct to like try to move the ground, the ideological ground, is still his presiding instinct. And I think we could argue that in this specific context of a one-on-one debate this late in the contest, he should have maybe been more interested in like directly confronting Biden. But like I said, none of us can know what the audience is going to think about this. The fact that Biden lied, like objectively, sure, it wasn't
Multiple
counted.
times.
It was not called on the stage, but it will be called. It's already been called and will be called in the future. The question is whether it will be amplified to the sufficient amount for anyone to notice, because
It won't be covered
the
by
media is not going to be helping him out on that score. He's going to have to do the work.
Yeah,
along
these lines,
Kessler's take tomorrow.
Will it matter how much Joe Biden lied about his own record tonight?
I don't know. But like to Ben's point, I think you're exactly right on this. You cannot assume that the media will ever in this situation act like anything even approaching an objective referee on this. So to that end, you have to play that role yourself. You have to play it. You can post about it. I think, Ben, you made this point the other week on Twitter, and I thought it was good. If you want to post about it,
Facebook.
fine. But make 50 calls for every post.
Yeah.
You want
And
to
what it says, like, if you want to drag Elizabeth Warren, you want to make jokes about the Bernie campaign. Believe me, like, I love to do that. You want to drag the moderates. Okay. Yeah. Fatally so. Before you do that, why don't you make 50 calls before you call Elizabeth Warren a horse-faced lesbian or something? Get involved before you need to.
You have to earn that.
You have to earn the troll.
Hold on, Amber. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think an exchange rate. Only allow yourself one tweet per 50 calls. That's a pretty good exchange rate. Also, like, as far as how well he did, again, it is, I hate to say it, but like this stuff is largely spectacle. It's a kind of it's a canned audience. God knows who is even watching. The headlines tomorrow will be Biden appears presidential.
Debate went
normal.
Normal debate.
Luckily,
didn't vomit. Didn't shit his pants.
Luckily, the media doesn't actually have that kind of control.
I didn't either.
Gramsci was wrong.
We can't know that
and
for
you know
sure.
what? If they did, Hillary Clinton would be president. Just keep remembering that.
That is a good point.
Just keep remembering that.
And I would say to people who are mad at Bernie, and I've seen some people who are mad that he didn't go hard enough, even
Respect
though
your
we might
fucking elders.
have emotionally wanted him to go hard, you can't know that it would have certainly been more emotionally satisfying for you if he had done that. But there's no way that you could confidently say that that would have helped him in the actual election where it matters.
Yes.
It would have made you happier, but don't confuse that with actual objective,
This is not a
improvement.
libidinal thing for you to feel good about. This is not about owning the libs, okay?
Right. Yeah.
This is about changing people's lives.
And to return to what I said at the very beginning of the show, it's like, yes, we all know what we wanted to see and what it would have been amazing television for us to watch and talk about.
Biden shitting his pants.
That would have been good.
So
the
good.
essential sort of like the bear trap that he is caught in is that he is running as a Democrat in a Democratic primary, where I think we have learned by now that the majority of the Democratic primary voters do not have the same they do not have the same like ideological or emotional prerogatives that we do.
Yeah.
And they do not want to see personal attacks, quote unquote, personal attacks on a Democratic candidate or politician or the party overall.
But they're going to call everything
But
Bernie
exactly.
says. They're going to call anything a personal attack.
So I mean,
those are like, that's how they're going to leverage all of this, right?
Yeah.
Like, fucking go for it. Go fucking make the personal attacks.
I would if I was Bernie's campaign, that's what I would advise him to do. My calculus would have been like, no matter what you say or do, you cannot draw these distinctions. You cannot attack him on policy. Or this is what we've learned in this entire campaign. If you're Bernie Sanders, you cannot make a political or ideological critique of the Democratic Party, their standard bearers, the people who are running against you.
You're doing Putin's work.
You cannot do that without it being regurgitated through the media the day after as a personal attack or running down the party or as I've seen before and as I imagine they're going to do in the future, attacking Democratic voters. And by that they mean, African Americans in the South. Yeah. Like when Bernie talks about the Democratic establishment, they have immediately created a narrative that the Democratic establishment, that's black voters in the South.
Why
Bernie
is
Sanders
Bernie bullying black women?
Why is Bernie Sanders bullying? Why is he making attacks?
Why
on
is
them?
he shitting in all of their church lady
Bernie
hats?
Say that Lizzo is a horrible musician. Why would he do that?
If I was advising him, I would have said that, like, look, they're going to do this to you regardless of what you say, so you might as well go all in right now.
Exactly.
He didn't fully do that tonight. I think he did half of that tonight.
Yeah, but the thing is, might as well is not the same thing as this will get you gains.
That's true.
Well, who knows what would have gotten gains?
What we needed was Biden.
I don't kind of think it matters a little bit either way. It's about being visible at this point.
I mean, like, what are these things for? One, no one watches them. A few clips make it to Facebook and Twitter the next day. People read, like, post whatevers of it, summaries. But really, it's just kind of about being visible. I mean, I don't know that a performance makes that big a difference.
But then I don't know if Bernie has a shot then, because it seems like everyone has the Biden the Kerry move, the 2004 thing, like, oh good, we have a guy now and we don't have to worry about it anymore, has sort of happened.
Bernie has a shot, but it has nothing to do with the media.
Well,
it
what
has
will
to
it-
do with calling and talking to people and
Has
having
with his ground game.
conversations.
Like again, like what we needed in this
And
debate
Corona.
was Biden to fully sun
going
down,
to
which
help
didn't
us a lot in
happen.
Arizona
We also needed
and
Bernie to go
Florida.
after him in a way that Bernie didn't. That's what we needed to create the momentum to go into these an election. What, 2 days?
It is insane
Right?
that they're having these elections in 2 days. by
Which
the
is
way.
fucked up.
Another
for
thing
even
that, like,
having the vote.
why they're literally going to kill their own voters to make a point when they could just suspend this thing. As I said
There
earlier,
are a lot of
they
questions.
could suspend this entire thing and say we're giving it to Biden. No one would say a goddamn word about it. And meanwhile, just to, as you said, assuage their own consciences or like senses of themselves as Democrats, they're going to kill their own fucking voters.
Which is good. I will say, like, something that I really hope for getting on the campaign, something I've always hoped for when it comes to, like, Democratic electoral politics is, like, destroying the party, right? It was either going to come down to, like, us taking over the party and completely reforming it and, like, and in some way destroying it, right? Like, for our campaign...
Well, the party has to die, yeah.
Like, this is something that not a lot of people think about.
All right,
For the Bernie campaign-
I kind of have 2 questions on this. We'll start with a silly one and then go into the serious one. What do people have to do to reach current Matt Christman levels of Jokerification?
Okay, this is a good question.
All right, Catherine, you start off with this, and then let's go to the Joker himself.
Oh, what? I wasn't going to answer this question.
All right, just answer the one you
no,
were
no,
going
no.
to.
I was just going to say there were a lot of questions in the chat about, like, basically, should I risk my own health to go vote in these states on Tuesday?
If you're young,
If you're young,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, go for it.
Well, yeah, but
No,
you know,
fuck these
it
people.
sucks that that's a
Wash your
question.
hands.
Wear a
Don't do
mask,
anything else.
bring
Wash your
Purell.
hands. Yeah.
No, yeah,
Don't
go.
touch your
Go and do
face.
it.
Wear the latex gloves.
And if this is as
If you're sick,
if
cough
this
in the
is
face
as
of
bad
every
as
Biden
it's
voter you
projected
see.
to be, this could actually sway the election. Is
Okay.
my take.
No, I yes, that's a very
Yeah.
good question, and I'm sorry, but like, if you're not immunocompromised in any way, if you don't have asthma, like,
or like
just,
a partner with HIV.
you know
or
what?
something.
Wear a fucking
yeah.
like scarf over your mouth if it makes you feel better, and just fucking wash your hands. Go
Right.
in, do it. Go home, wash your hands.
Because you'll probably get it, but you'll almost
like, here's the
certainly
thing.
live.
Like, the responsible thing to do would be to delay these
Of course,
elections,
but they don't
right?
want to do that.
Or
But
make
here's the
it
thing.
all mail-in.
Or make
that
it
would
mail
be a
in,
great
but they're
idea.
not going to do that.
No.
And if you understand that they're not, that these are going to go ahead regardless of
Yes.
a public health crisis or the rational, sane thing to do, then I'm sorry, you've got to bite the bullet and participate in them. If the elections are
We're
going
all
forward
making sacrifices.
and everyone is going to fucking do it, you've got to fucking do
But
it
like,
yourself.
do
And
it
I know
cautious.
that's an insane, irresponsible thing to say. But like, what is more
They're making us
irresponsible?
do it.
What is
They're
more
making us do
irresponsible?
it.
Like voluntarily removing yourself from that process because of it?
Do you just watch Biden on stage?
It's still a greater good. It is still a greater good. but
Also,
you know,
like,
like literally, like wear a face mask, wash your hands, be cautious.
People make sacrifices.
All right, so
if you are
Okay, so-
young and healthy,
how do you become
So how do you become
though?
Jokerfied? How do
Matt,
we reach
take
Matt
it
Christman
away.
levels of Jokerification?
Becoming Jokerfied is not a science. It's an art.
Is it a destination or is it a journey?
It's a journey and it's a destination.
Nice.
And it's an art.
Uh-huh.
And it's a lifestyle. And you just have to feel it. You have to feel it in the air. Don't force it. Don't like, you might be looking at this and thinking like, damn, he's got it all figured out. I want to be like Matt. Don't do that.
that was totally what they were all thinking.
Don't flex. Okay, don't be a busta or a poser on this point. You have to feel the call of the Joker. One day the Joker, you will hear a knock on the door and the Joker will be there, and you just have to open the door and accept it. That's how you become the Joker.
I'm not going to get Joker-fied at all.
I
I think
know.
I'm Commissioner.
You're the least.
Gordon.
Yeah, no, you're
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon fight.
I'm on my way to Jokerification.
Hell yes.
I've never seen a bad.
Feel the
In
feel it.
part because I think Joker should have won
I
Best
really
Picture.
prefer the
Best
cartoon.
movie of the year.
Catherine,
It was a
would
great
you say that-
cartoon.
Would you say that you're on the way to becoming Harley Quinn?
No, I would not say that. And
That's
frank-
sexist.
That's
Frankly,
sexist.
I think it's sexist
You're
that
saying
you think
women
I have
can't
to
be
be Harley
Jokers?
Quinn.
That's fucked up.
I am
Wait a
way,
second.
I am way more jokeified than you. Don't
Wait a
force
second.
me into the
Joker.
Harley Quinn
Wait
box.
a second. Wait a second. Hold on just 1 minute here. As Chapo's resident comic expert, there already is a female Joker. That it is Harley Quinn.
No, Harley Quinn is not the female
Yes,
Joker.
that is. Yes,
that
she
is
is.
Harley. That is the
Offensive.
Joker's
A
girlfriend.
very unnuanced
Offensive.
take on
She writes
Jokerification, just as I
sidecar. She writes
expected. He doesn't get it. He's not as Jokerified.
Wow,
Boo.
that is wildly sexist
Wow.
of you.
All
Bring
I
it
have
on.
to say,
Bring it on.
All I have to say.
I just
right.
own this. I don't have it.
I'm right.
I have one thing
I'm
to
right.
say.
I'm
I
right.
have one thing to say. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got a question for you, Will.
That's
Wow.
a yikes
Is
for
Eva
me,
Braun
dog.
just Lady Hitler?
Yes.
No, that's
Yes.
absurd.
Yes,
No,
she is.
No, she's not.
So my follow-up on complete Jokerification is the question: how then do we go about destroying the Democratic Party?
That's
Okay,
a good
okay.
question.
No,
Vote
no, 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 no,
independent.
no, no,
You
no,
don't
that's a
fucking
dumb
vote for Joe
question.
Biden.
I'm sorry, that's a dumb question.
All right. Well, we heard that's a good question. We heard that's a dumb question. Let's
That's a
hear it
dumb
out.
question.
Well,
Freaking-
the
freaking
thing is
owned.
that they are the biggest
Let them
obstacle
do
to
it
change.
destroying it
themselves.
themselves.
Let Amber
They're
talk.
doing it
Let Amber
themselves.
talk. Let Amber talk.
You give them the rope. Because no matter what, something is going to happen at the end of this election.
Yeah, if Biden loses, and they just move on.
This
and they're still the
problem-
same Democratic Party.
No. Biden loses, they lose all number of credibility all over again.
They already lost it once. It didn't matter. They just blamed it
Yeah,
on
you know
Russia.
there's a numeric number that is going to get reduced every time they
And they're
keep
fine with
losing.
that.
No, but
They're fine with being a minority party. They're fine with being a minority party. They're fine with being a minority party until the
Yeah,
end of
but you
time.
can only be so much of a minority party until you stop existing. What
Yeah.
are they going to be, a minority of 5 fucking people?
That won't happen as long as
their
if there isn't an opposition to them. That'll never happen.
One at a
No,
time.
no,
One
no,
at a
no,
time.
no.
One at a time.
They are, yes, they are, exactly. They are the Black Knight from Monty Python. Eventually, they have no fucking limbs. Eventually, they have no fucking
But
limbs.
unless something tries to
They
fill the
can't
gap,
lose any more
but
limbs
but
after
here's but
this.
in a two-party system, they can't fall below a certain level just by virtue of the fact that there's a solid bottom of 40% of people who consider
this
themselves
is an
Democrats.
End of history kind of
No,
reading of
but
things.
there has to be there has to be something else, a choice. Or
There
else
has to
people
be
are
someone
just
who
going to
runs
keep
third-
voting
Bernie
for
should run third
Democrats.
party. He
A
will never,
critical
but
number of
he
people are
should.
going to vote for
Yes.
Democrats regardless,
I mean,
unless
at some
there is
point,
another
though,
option.
Third party is going to have to develop
Well, that's what.
strategically.
Okay, but this is part of the question. Then, how does that happen? When do we have to make that choice?
At
Well,
this
Is it
juncture,
now
don't
or is it in the
fucking
future?
vote for Joe Biden.
It's not going to be anyone on the Chapo Twitch stream. But
I guess
you
the question I have is
keep-
what's the time
Watch
frame?
this space.
Future
No,
president.
Watch
that's not
this
true.
space.
You are all
Amber
very
just shit
important.
all
You're
over
starting
you.
the revolution right now on the
I
street.
just-
I would say. I mean, look, this.
Just keep an eye out. It's going to. I'm sorry. It's going to have to come from the labor movement.
Yeah.
There is no labor movement, though.
There is a labor movement. The labor movement being weak doesn't mean there is no labor movement.
Yes.
That's not the same thing.
Right, but if it's too weak, if it's even weaker than the Democratic Party, then it
Unionize
won't challenge the
Chapo.
Democratic Party.
Well,
meaningfully.
think about how. Well,
Yeah,
we can't
Amber,
really.
run for
We don't have a
office.
boss. Who are we going to unionize against?
I know.
Me.
Yes, please, Amber, run for office.
Just have to say, a lot of people in the chat are putting forth the theory that I am Joker and you are Harley Quinn.
That's fine.
Yes,
That's fine. I'd be happy.
I've never agreed more.
I would be. See, I would be happy to take that. I'd be
Because
happy
he
to take
thinks
that.
that makes him Joker.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
like when we kind of dress up, I am the Joker and he is
You
Harley
roll-
Quinn
when you
anyway.
fuck.
Just kidding, just kidding. That
Roleplay.
is not canon. That's a joke.
That is not canon.
What are we gonna do, Mr.
It's-
J?
it's already in the Wikipedia page.
answer is
I'm already
Catherine Krieger and Will
answer-
Bedecker
yeah.
enjoy the Joker and Carly.
Listen, people
Quinn-
already
Quinn-themed
projected
cosplay.
onto us.
If I could comment on what you guys are just
Please.
debating among each
Navigate
other.
us away.
No, I'll talk more about our role.
No,
later.
no.
No, it's like the open question was with Bernie Sanders. As I said, I think the first episode we did in Iowa when we started this descent into madness, this descent into Jokerification on the store, is that the Bernie Sanders movement and candidacy is a gun pointed at the heart of the Democratic Party. And the trigger is going to get pulled one way or another. And the question is, can the Democratic Party be taken over by a populist movement through democratic means?
Oh, no, you're all tangled up.
And if that is not the case, can it be destroyed through democratic means? And if it can be destroyed through democratic means, well then, to Ben's point, that means do not vote for any Democrat ever again. the problem is, and to speak to Matt's point, is I think he's trying to say that there is, in a two-party system in America, there is always going to be a baseline of support among people who are committed to the Democratic Party.
First of all, I don't like the word always.
Okay, well, let me just finish what I said. Coming out of this, the Democrats, in their worst-case scenario, will always be able to hold on to, the coast.
Keep using that word.
Okay,
I do not think it means what you think it means.
Okay, but I'm saying always in the means of
always.
In the short-term future, right? But that I mean over the next 10, 15, 20 years.
If you're a socialist, I'm sorry, you don't always think about short-term future.
Okay, well, okay, right.
But
all right, fine.
They do, clearly.
Yeah, but okay. Forget the word always, but for the time being, I guess it is hard for me to imagine that the Democrats will not be able to hold on by virtue of who they are and who they represent.
Sure, but 5 years ago, it would have been hard for you to imagine Bernie Sanders getting this far. I honestly think it's too early to tell, folks. It's too early to tell. Literally just keep your eye on what's going on. You watch for opportunities. You watch for leverage. You don't be just some sort of there's a lot of kind of stupid radical triumphalism that jumps onto every social movement, and that's moronic too.
Well, and you kind of can't be a doomer.
Yes,
Yeah, you
sorry.
can't afford that.
Yeah,
you can't.
Forget
If
always.
it's fucking meant anything to you.
Yeah, it's also pussy bitch shit.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Forget always or long-term projections, but in the very immediate near future, how do you kill the Democratic Party? The answer is you have to prove to them that you're willing not to vote for them and to lose an election. You have to prove that you're willing to accept the moral blackmail of not voting and then theoretically in their moral calculus contributing to a Republican victory.
But on top of that, you do have to make the moral case that another 4 years of Donald Trump is more moral than a fucking Biden presidency. We cannot forget the fact that Biden, as a part of the Obama administration, paved the way for Donald Trump to win the presidency.
Yes.
We should be making a moral case here. I am abstaining from voting for Joe Biden for a lot of reasons because of the open corruption of the Democratic primary, et cetera, but most pressingly because this kind of tepid, ineffectual liberalism that Obama and Biden, acted on for 8 years, that leads to Trump. What's going to happen after you have another 4 years of Biden?
Well, I mean, this is the
we
point.
We have the moral case.
I said this,
and
it's
they have to,
Bernie bitch.
and they have to make it. And it's on us to make that moral case.
But if you want to resist the moral blackmail of people who say, oh, well, if you don't vote for Biden, you're going to put those kids in the cages. We've already said, well, look, Obama and Biden built all those fucking cages. But the point is, to me, the threat, the fear is not so much, a second Trump administration. We lived through 2 terms of the George W. Bush administration, which I regard as wholly more evil than the Trump administration on balance than Donald Trump has done so far.
Yeah.
To me, the real terror of Joe Biden or any of these other fucking average Democrats getting in office is that they will be a placeholder caretaker presidency for 4 years. There will be a massive disappointment that will disillusion and immiserate more people at an exponentially greater and more rapid rate than what we've seen thus far. And what comes after that,
what
the reaction to Joe Biden.
Hamburglar in an SS uniform.
The reaction to that.
I was just look, actually, we can't risk that. It's literally extremely dangerous to have a very right-wing fucking Democrat win this.
Yeah. Get ready for President Dog the Bounty Hunter in 2004.
No, but what I mean is that the real threat is
as a mullet American
that Trump has cracked the door open for whatever you want to call it, nationalism, fascism, whatever word you want to use. The Republican Party is smart enough that they're going to realize a way to harness at least on the surface, anti-capitalist rhetoric to the benefit of a genuinely terrifying agenda that will be the Trump agenda, but carried out by people who are competent and dedicated to it. And if you think Trump was bad, wait till fucking Chom Cotton or Josh Hawley fucking get their hand on the till.
Biden wins. Next person, blood and soil right wing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's
blood and fucking soil. None of this bullshit.
Well, you think
I'm appealing to fascists, but I'm not really anything because I'm a bored.
You think we have Nazis in the streets
one.
now?
But a real one.
Just wait.
But it's already fucking happening. Donald Trump is already running to the left of Joe Biden on Social Security.
Yes.
Oh, and he will.
Yes.
He's already running to the left of Joe Biden on healthcare, and
Yes.
and he's doing it in like purely aesthetic means. But like that will make a critical mass of votes difference. Like that is exactly why Joe Biden will lose, is because Donald Trump will adopt a further left, and small beans there. But like
Yeah. No, but no. Honestly, I can imagine if Biden is the nominee, he will run
Hand
to the
sanitizer.
left of Joe Biden on immigration.
he will.
And it will convince enough people. And here's the thing. Sure, Trump is only doing it superficially.
Yeah.
He's a liar. He's not really committed to any of these
Never
things.
deliver on it.
He's going to do it, but here's the thing.
He'll win.
Based on Biden's record, it's not totally superficial. He can make that case not based on his record, but based on Biden's record.
Yeah.
And it's not
Exactly what he
totally
did with
bullshit.
Hillary. It's exactly what he did with Hillary.
Yes. And look, we've said again, like, no one can predict anything, like you said, Amber. No one should be saying always. There is a conceivable world in which Biden can beat Trump, but
The
you
economy
should be
is-
just as
might
afraid
be
of that.
completely
That's
collapsed.
very
You should be
dangerous.
just
That is
as afraid
incredibly
of that.
dangerous because we're not
worse.
just thinking about the next administration. We are thinking
worse.
long term because what happens after Biden,
How do you build worker power?
horrifying.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
All right, are there any more questions?
Why
Let's
Bernie
give
needs
like
to win.
1 minute for another slew of
Questions or
questions. Come on.
compliments?
Questions or thirstiness?
Yeah,
you can thirst at me
thirst
if you
and
want.
You
or
can
questions.
thirst or ask an intelligent
You're allowed
question.
to thirst on me.
But if you don't have an intelligent question,
Thirst
just
upon.
thirst.
Thirst
Please
upon me.
thirst.
Cast your thirst upon the waters.
Shout out to Jesse Farrar for the GamerCom mug. Thank
That's
you.
my
I placed that.
Gamer come. Oh.
I'll just say, let me say that I think
No, I just love Jesse Farrar.
things are going to be okay.
Matt Footcam. No, we are not doing that.
Dude, you have no idea what you're asking for. My feet are disgusting.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
really bad.
I
can
have like a
verify.
genetic problem, and I'm not kidding. You don't want to see these things.
Again, in the meantime,
We would get banned immediately if I put them on the fucking screen.
Let's see. Anything
stop
here?
asking for
Anything
that.
I
here?
just want to encourage you people. In the meantime, if you are a Bernie supporter who has not made a phone call, has not gotten involved,
Then you're not a Bernie supporter.
Well, one, you're not a Bernie supporter, and guess how much you hate Warren people. Okay, you're worse than the Warren voters. If you are a Bernie supporter who hasn't gotten fucking involved,
Speak on it. Speak on it.
Okay, like again, like the only way we do win as a movement, if you're to like sip the Kool-Aid there, which I have, I do like legitimately believe in the movement politics that Bernie is professing.
And he got fired by this
And I
ass.
got fired, right?
Yeah.
If you are not, if you're gonna, if you, it's not enough to just vote for Bernie. You can't just post for Bernie. No one gives a shit. You do have to phone bank. You do have to do everything you can to
Talk to
make
people
sure.
who have nothing in common with you.
Yeah, you have to.
If enough
do
of
it.
us
You've gotta
do
it.
that, we can
And in
still
light
win
of,
this.
And in light of Corona, the campaign has
That
suspended.
is
their field
AMQ
operations.
guarantee.
So there is
We
no
can
more
do it.
canvassing. What you can do is, maybe it's cringe to say, download the Burn app. All right, do everything you can to make sure you are engaging the people you know in your personal networks, and then signing up to make phone calls. If you're not doing that, I will hold you in a higher contempt than I do the fucking Warren fucking losers.
And that's
okay?
a high level of
All
contempt.
hands in. It is all hands in.
But Matt, you made this point the other day, and what we saw with the rapid consolidation of Democratic Party support for Joe Biden that came through on Super Tuesday is that class interest doesn't require mobilization.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is
They're
that like
self-mobilizing.
it's self-mobilizing, and it happened rapidly. Don't take from that canvassing, organizing, campaigning, it's all bullshit. It doesn't matter. No,
That's so
it's the only thing that we have.
Right. Yes.
It's the only
Because
weapon.
we can't self-organize.
It's the only weapon in our arsenal. And if you're talking about what Bernie's talking about, or like mobilizing people who have dropped out of politics or whose class interests are not represented by either of the options over the last 30, 40, 50 years in American politics, that takes work. That takes work. It takes effort on your part that is not required by MSNBC, CNN, the Democratic Party, and everyone just lining up to endorse Joe Biden. They have that. They can flip a switch, and overnight it works. We don't have that. But what we do have is everything you said. What is in our hands, and what you can do is call and talk to people about these issues. Amber,
You're not
speak,
too autistic
speak
to
on
do
it.
Well, and you can do this outside of the country, right? You
Yeah.
can make calls
Yes,
outside the country.
absolutely. You need a
People were
computer.
also asking if you could call outside of your state, which
Yes.
Absolutely.
of course
if
you
you
almost
know this,
always
yes.
you almost always end up calling.
Yes,
Come
call
on,
from the surface of the
dumbass.
moon. Oh
Amber,
my God.
Amber, speak on it.
No, but like ultimately, like what Will was saying is true, and it is just The truth of the matter is that it is not fair, is that they are bigger and stronger than us, which means we have to be 10 times smarter, 10 times more hardworking, 10 times more provident, 10 times more vigilant, and 10 times more loyal than they are. We have to do everything so much better than them. But the thing is, we can, because they're scum. We are capable of that. And you know what? If it all goes fucking tits up, that was always the most likely scenario anyway. But things will be different after this. And we'll at least have new terms of engagement.
All right.
To your point about, real quick, to your point about can you call out of state or out of country for Bernie, I would like to shout out one example of one fan of the show who got on the Bernie dialer for us from the McMurdo Research Station in Antarctica.
From Epstein Island.
Are we sure it was a human though, and not something who has come in contact with certain dogs?
I don't
that
care.
escaped from a Norwegian
I don't care.
research area?
If the thing wants to make calls for Bernie, yeah.
Good.
Love that movie.
Welcome.
Second of all, you know what? Like, I don't care.
Go off.
I'll take help where it comes from.
Yeah.
An
Extraterrestrial.
An
species.
One more.
I
do want to say that most of the questions in the chat are dog shit. They're bad, and and then the other half of them are just saying how hot everybody looks.
Thank you.
So a mixed bag. I guess I'm synthesizing a bunch of shit into one question, which is like, what do you wish Bernie had said or done in this debate that he didn't do?
I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Again, what are you gonna fucking do?
Yeah,
what
I don't know.
You wish you said because you haven't done fucking anything. Fuck you.
I don't know. How are you
Amen.
supposed to know? How does anyone
All right,
know?
well, I guess it was a bad
no
question.
one knows what
Sorry.
these people are going to think about what he said or did.
I would say we actually do know what they're going to say.
I will respond.
Well, we know
with
what
one
the press is
specific
going to
thing.
say.
That's why it's irrelevant.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I will-
like no
Yes.
matter what he says, they're going to say Bernie was mean.
I wish Bernie
And Biden
was
was
there.
presidential.
Or the headline will be about like Bernie would not commit to a female VP or whatever. Like we do know what the response is going to be. The variable is what we will each do.
Yeah.
I will go against group consensus and take two specific zingers I wish Bernie had done. Very early on, when Joe Biden said, like, yeah, we got to get the military involved. This is a war.
Yeah.
I would have liked Bernie to cut off Biden just in that moment and said,
Well, you
Joe,
know about that.
Joe, the last war you voted for, we lost. So
Yeah.
why that? What So
You
don't
wanted
take.
more zingers.
I wanted more
I'll give you
zingers,
that.
Bernie.
I'll give
And
you that.
number two, real quick, when they tried to say, will you commit to nominating a female vice president? I would have liked Bernie to say, I'm not committing to anything at this point other than winning this race.
I would have liked him to have said, absolutely not. There will never be a female vice
That would have been awesome.
Never.
That would have rolled.
Look, you're the place.
because they have periods. That's incompatible.
You can't trust that.
They're going to get the business all over the nuclear button.
No, he should have been. He should have been meaner. You know.
It was good.
yeah.
He should have
It
been
was
meaner.
good. It was fine. It also kind of doesn't matter that much.
Well,
which is
yeah.
the worst thing about it is because our job is basically entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, what
I'm
matters
not
is what
arguing
we
it would
don't
have
know.
mattered, but I think like essentially the pundit class's response, if he would have been meaner, would be the same as it'll be tomorrow.
Exactly.
So like
Yeah.
he should always go meaner.
Exactly.
But I'm also recognizing like in the confines of this space, like, you know, he basically
what it-
like did what he could.
Didn't really do anything. And
Well,
it's
yeah,
just like,
you know. So
what does things is us.
No, but
it's us.
but
It's
Yeah.
not him. It's us.
it is.
But to the people who are mad at Bernie or who are like, oh my God, I just like, oh, he should have done this or he should have fucking.
Are there people like
He
that?
should
Oh,
have
yeah.
he should have spit in Joe Biden's mouth that night. Don't
Okay,
get
first
don't,
of all,
Woo!
first of all, hot.
don't get too
Interesting
horny.
that I thought you were going to say like just spit on Joe Biden, but you really took it
Well,
there.
You got it erotic.
Very, very interesting. To the night where we're revealing things about ourselves.
don't get too fucking head up. He did very well given the confines and the stupid fucking like context which this all came in. He didn't like look. Yes, I think he should have been meaner, but like he did not disappoint me on this debate night at all. I thought he did very good. He made Joe Biden perjure himself at least 5
In a
times.
way that I've never seen before in a debate. I've
Yes.
never seen anyone
Yeah, man.
directly
It's so
lie
easy
in a
to
way that can be
fact-check
like
those things.
factually disproven.
Yes, and Bernie is very good at the game, the best game, which is
calmer than you are.
Yeah.
It's such a good game.
He was certainly
He also
calmer than
did
Biden.
drag PolitiFact, which is really
Yeah,
a
that's
really
true.
big dick.
And
move.
also,
Yeah, it is.
Also consider this.
That's
There
church
will
for
be
liberals.
just like watching the split screen from Bernie's reactions to Joe talking will create so many amazing
yeah.
Bernie reaction
Yeah.
gifs by tomorrow that you will be able to employ
Yeah.
at the drop of a hat. Just Bernie
Which you
going-
are not allowed to do until you do 50 calls.
Again, yeah, that's not
Okay, yeah,
enough.
I
Never
honestly,
You've never done enough.
I think that's very good. Yeah, you want to commit to anything. Like, yeah, stop your mean tweeting until you've made 50 calls, and then you've earned the valor.
From me.
And
okay?
then yeah, if you're gonna take this from anyone, take it from Ben.
for mean
Yes.
tweets.
Yes. Well, but you fucking earned it. You were.
He's admitting
You
it.
were a
folks.
troop. You were boots on the ground.
He admitted it.
This is
Immortalized in bronze in every
Yeah.
city square.
This
I
is our-
can do it.
This is
you
our
Yes.
tent
have to.
revival, like testimony of a sinner. He's telling you, folks, he's seen the light. I mean, he hasn't seen the light about being
I am
mean to
forsaken.
Warren supporters. He's just
No,
telling
he
you.
hasn't.
Fuck you.
The
Yeah.
light he's seen is the power of
his
organizing.
sexual handicap.
Yeah.
But if you support Warren, please go eat a peanut. You know what I'm saying?
They do
They have
all.
some gluten.
Go on
Yeah,
a-
go have some gluten.
It do be
honey.
like that.
You deserve it.
Go on a cruise, please. If you can, there are still tickets available.
How y'all feeling? You want to keep going or do you want to tap out?
I'm having fun.
Should we do one more?
Well, no, you got
one
anything?
more.
Is everything else?
All right,
done?
who has-
I mean, I'm fine. So.
We're chilling, we're
drinking-
vibing, we're
I'm
having a
lying,
good
I'm fine.
time. If anybody has another question,
Here, I'll go.
if I'm lying, I'm fine. Here you go. Ruby Grapefruit.
Grapefruit.
Yeah.
how about an easy one? This one's pitched straight over home plate for Will.
Yes.
What's going on?
Movie rec for the quarantine.
Well, I mean, a brilliant movie record for the quarantine. We just already referenced John Carpenter's The Thing. If you haven't seen
watch
that,
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
absolutely. That's a
Probably
top.
my-
You and I are trying to rewatch Safe also.
Oh yes,
Which I think is
Yes.
a wonder. First of all,
So
the
good.
aesthetics,
Yeah.
younger Julianne Moore.
Yes.
And also says a lot about just alienation
Yes.
in
Oh
the
my
modern
God.
world. Yeah,
So just-
wonderful movie.
But
Yeah.
also Julianne Moore.
She looks
So
incredible.
Oh my
amazing.
God.
Even when she's
Permanent bitch face.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Gorgeous. Angel.
Michael Haneke. I like Michael Haneke.
Oh, Michael Haneke.
I
Oh,
think that's a quarantine.
a quarantine. Which one though?
Wait, which
Cachet?
one?
Or how-
Cachet's
Oh
beautiful.
no, actually no.
Okay.
His
Here,
most recent Happy Family is really good.
I haven't seen that one.
Happy
okay,
Family's good.
I'll finish. You brought up Haneke.
Piano teacher, amazing.
No, they well, piano teacher. If you're a sicko,
Again,
which I
spit in
guess
my
if you're
mouth.
watching this, you are.
Yeah.
Haneke
All
quarantine
Haneke
recommend.
movies
Okay,
are sicko movies. What are you
Haneke-
talking about?
Yeah, they are.
All right, let's not
Haneke-
alienate our art house
Haneke
viewers.
quarantine. Rat.
Haneke quarantine recommendation. His first film, The Seventh Continent, which is based on a true story of an Austrian family that quarantines themselves in their own home. And spoiler alert, I won't spoil it. It's probably
Things
the
don't
most
go
emotionally
well.
traumatizing movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But it is about a family that self quarantines.
Why?
Because of their emotional as he described it, emotional glaciation.
So not because of a
It's not because of
pandemic.
any actual disease or anything. That it's
Yeah, that's
psychological.
a great setup for things to go
They
well.
make the psychological decision to kind of Dogtooth is another good one about
Yes.
self-quarantine. I'm just
Okay.
gonna round it out. We give you Safe by Todd Haynes,
I got one
starring
more.
Julianne Moore.
I got one.
I got one,
John
yeah.
Carpenter's The Thing, and I'm gonna round it out because he just died. R.I.P. the God, Max von Sydow. Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, a movie about a plague
Seal.
That is
ravaging a
The
country
country.
I have
Yes,
another
community.
Bergman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you
Okay.
just dab?
Yes.
No, wait. Amber has one.
I
Amber
have
has
another
one.
Oh,
Bergman.
damn it on Igmar.
I have another Bergman, and I just saw this at Metrograph, which means I literally, the day before yesterday, went to go see a movie in Chinatown because I am only allowed to die when Bernie tells me I'm allowed to die, which means I am free, which
Oh.
means I go to ground zero. Fuck off.
That reminds me.
So I saw Persona, which is another Bergman film, and it's Liv Ullmann, his muse, and Bibi Anderson. And Liv Ullmann's an actress who, suddenly stopped speaking because she's like a hysteric, and actresses are terrible people.
Yep.
And Bibi Anderson is her nurse, and they go away to this beach house where they're just isolated. and BB Anderson tries to get her to talk to her, but there's this weird psychological drama, and it's super fucked up, and they're completely isolated, and Liv Ullmann is allegedly trying to heal, but there's a betrayal. I don't know. It's so Swedish and like horny without being horny,
Your
you know, which is the
Metrograph
best kind of
shout-out,
horny.
That's the
I
Scandinavian
saw
horny.
I want my
Melancholia
horny,
for the
horny. Oh my
first
God.
time ever
That's
at
another good
Metrograph.
one.
I want it to be like, no,
And
I'm
it-
not horny.
You're following Bernie's recommendation.
I'm not horny.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't know I was.
Maybe.
Frankly, I think he got the recommendation from me.
Huh.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
wonderful.
No, I want to say one
Apocalypse
more. I
movie.
want to pick one though.
Oh yeah, do it.
I mentioned it on the show recently. If you want to see a movie about a disease outbreak caused by government incompetence and that manifests more as mental illness than as actual sickness,
Ooh.
George Romero's The Crazies.
Yes, yes, and also
Not the
remake.
dog shit remake with Timothy Oliphant, directed by Michael
Hey,
Eisner's
we don't need
fucking
to bring
fail son.
Timothy into
By the way,
Fuck
Timothy
that.
Oliphant
Okay.
is not
The
hot.
original-
I would like an end to this myth.
Whoa! I
Wait,
think-
who?
Whoa,
I would
whoa,
like an end
whoa.
to this myth.
She
Wait,
said-
whoa! What?
Timothy Oliphant is not hot.
I can't be on the stream anymore.
Contrarianism.
I need to, I'm out of here.
I am not an iconoclast. I simply tell the truth.
Timothy
is
has
wildly
been a lot of bad shit,
wrong.
but he could get it
Wrong.
on his worst
Wrong.
day.
Wrong.
Any
I would
time.
have sex with Timothy Oliphant.
There
for
you
God's
go.
sake.
Yeah.
No,
all right,
The
all
Crazies,
right,
George
all right,
Romero.
all right, wrap it up. You guys. I'm gonna do this is gonna be the last question, but before this, I have to shout out Chapo FYM. They're going on right after us.
Yes.
They will be streaming a bunch of funny stuff that's related to this, and they are the people who
Shut
are
up so
holding
we
down
can
this
see the
channel
fun
when we
stuff.
are not doing this stuff. And hopefully, now that we have this studio set up, we will be working much more in
Oh, yeah.
coordination with them. We're
Expect
going to be
much
doing
more content.
much more content, much more streaming.
We got nothing else to do.
Yeah,
We got
exactly.
shit.
We're going to either be quarantined in our apartments or in this studio, trying to stream as much as possible. But stick around after this for Chapo FYM. This one goes specifically to Amber, and then lenses out to everyone else.
I've seen that
I'm
a
not
lot
wearing,
in the
I
chat.
don't wear socks. I have very like
Do you
breathable
have feet?
canvas.
It's not
shoes.
about your feet.
yeah,
It's not
I
about your
deliver
feet,
results
Amber.
to
It's
the
not about your
chat.
feet. Amber, what happens next after burning?
No one knows. You have to be okay with that.
Yeah, no
I'm
one knows
sorry.
anything, man. Come
You
on.
have to be okay with uncertainty.
No one knows.
You simply,
Amber, can I
part of being
suckle?
Part of Providence is also just being like, well, I can't predict everything,
Yeah.
so we're just going to keep an eye on it, you know, see
Anyone
how it
who
goes.
anyone who says with any confidence they know it's coming is lying to you,
Which is great.
and selling you
How
something.
It's
exciting
on
is that?
you.
No,
How
it's
exciting
incredibly
is that?
liberating. We are at a nexus of history. We are. It's
We're
a-
living in interesting times.
It's the most interesting times I can imagine, and it might be apocalypse. It might be fucking. It might be. We might be saved, but we don't know.
But I'm in it for life, and that's that.
Yeah, you got to be in it for life. That's the one thing.
That's all. That's
Regardless,
all,
you don't know what
this
it's going to be.
subset.
You just have to be willing to go with it and be part of it. You got to be willing to be like, I'm going to fight for this until I fucking die, not like until like
I
I'm
will keep the
disappointed
faith.
by a political candidate
Until I'm like
or I'm
some
disillusioned.
whiny boomer who's
right.
like, we did that.
Yeah.
but you weren't.
Until I'm
Yeah.
disillusioned
Fuck
by
off.
some bullshit. No, you have to realize like our only future as a species is if we fucking work together for this thing, and we have to be willing to do that, even if we don't know we're going to get a reward for it, even if we don't know if we're going to fucking win or not. We have to just keep fucking doing it.
Okay.
Let's have someone clip that. That was very strong.
Yes.
Joker
Yeah!
baby.
Clip
We're
that.
gonna
Clip
win.
that.
Y'all
Joker
gotta
fight.
get Joker
Decide
fight.
we win. We're
Y'all
Joker
gotta get
fight.
Joker fight.
Can I do a
When
plug?
the
One
Joker
more- I
shows
wanna
up
do a
at your
plug.
door, open it.
Matt, shut the hell up. I want to do a plug, okay? Since I've been fired by the campaign, I have, we'll never be hired by anything again. I have to start a podcast. I'm starting a podcast. Me and Paul.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Oh my God. We
love you,
cannot-
love Palma.
Okay.
We love
Please,
Palma.
please
Right.
promote.
I would
please.
just like to say.
What is it? What is it called?
It's called Seeking Derangement.
Seeking
Is that-
derangement.
Is that too cute?
No, I
No,
love that.
it's
I love
perfect.
that.
Seeking
yeah.
okay.
Seeking
Okay.
derangement.
Every Chapo fan out there watching this, and we will promote it heavily. You guys will be on our
Thank
show
you.
to launch this podcast.
Scooped by
I am-
Red. Scooped by Red Scare though.
Look, it hasn't. This is up for the rest.
No,
I know, I'm
it's-
just
it's-
kidding.
no,
This is
it's-
stream exclusive.
there's no scoop here. I'm just saying, like, we have an open door policy to Seeking Derangements. Ben Mora and Sweet Palma, two of the most
We have a
savage
backdoor policy.
for the gays.
The meth was on the
You
floor.
have to come through the back door.
No, genuinely though, This is gonna be the true anon for 2020.
Yeah.
Two of the most savage shooters.
Strongest
most
posters.
psychotic gay
The
guys.
two most psycho gays.
Iconic Twitter gays.
The two most psycho gays on Twitter, Ben and Palma, are coming together to do what I'm sure will be the most savage podcast of 2020. Seeking Derangements 2020. I am already an angel investor. I have already sent Palma money to buy the Zoom recorder and microphones to do this show.
You're a
That's
good
so
boy.
sweet. He asked me for money, but I said no. I was like, get it together, bitch.
No. I'm gonna be the official sugar daddy
Palma
for
asked me
Seeking
to be
Derangements.
Palma asked me to be a beard for his wedding, and I'm
Yeah.
like, do I get a free ticket?
Yeah.
No, if you
But
want,
also, like, I'm the most obvious beard in the world.
Yeah,
like, who is
literally.
this, like, loud
Yeah.
New York woman in her 30s?
What else would
Yeah,
you be
you
doing
clearly
there?
have a sexual relationship.
if you want a level of savage psycho shit that even Chapo or Come Town or Red Scare cannot achieve, Seeking Derangements when it drops will be that podcast for you.
Thanks.
There will be General Butt Naked's army of child soldiers. Your necklaces and wedding gowns.
So someone said
Stay
Red Scare,
tuned.
but for the fellas.
Yeah, it's Red Scare. It's Red Scare for everyone who's ever been at risk of HIV.
I thought that was already just the Red Scare audience.
well.
So.
Half of them.
Interlocking fandoms is what we're all about.
Yeah.
So-
There's
Solidarity.
Venn diagrams.
Solidarity.
Venn
So
diagrams.
we will end
We're
with a
stacking
plug.
Venns.
That's how you build movements.
It's
We
true.
will end with a plug.
That's literally true.
We will end with a plug for Seeking Derangements. Ben and Palma is soon to drop podcast.
When is
Love
it gonna? When can we look for it?
I don't think we have a Patreon up yet. We'll have a podcast out next week.
It's going to be like Boston Harbor because they're going to be spilling the tea.
Yeah, yes, Queen.
So I will end
And
with
also doing racism.
Well, yeah. Well, we're both Latino, so we've got to pass.
we will end with a plug for Seeking Derangements, and then end right now with a plug for Chapo FYM, soon to be on right now following this.
Also,
Bye-bye.
Make
Stick
calls for Bernie.
Bye.
Make
calls.
calls. Donate to Bernie.
Bernie
Calls
Dialer.
for
Call.
Bernie.
You got nothing else to do in your fucking quarantine.
Do the dialer.
Do it.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you for sticking around. Goodbye.